Welcome to episode 2 of Old Dog New Tricks, the series where myself, a self-proclaimed experienced angler with no experience of these types of venues, is going to be sitting fishing and taught by the expert Joe Carass, our resident commercial super duper angler. Now, we're here at Shelt Hill Fisheries, which is just outside the village of Woodborough, which is about 10 miles outside of Nottingham, in Nottinghamshire. It's a stunning fishery, just nestled here in this little valley outside a beautiful village, gorgeous gated entrance, and what could only be described as a little paradise hidden away at the back of these beautiful fields. And we know that it's stuffy fish because we've already seen them while we've been setting up the cameras, and we're going to go through step by step how we approach fishing a brand new venue for both of us. Neither myself or Joe have seen this venue, but we've had a little word with Eric Ball, the resident bailiff, who's a very experienced angler himself, fishes here quite regular, and we know it's stuffy fish, but he tells us it's really stuffy fish. So how do we approach it? Follow us through this little episode, and we're going to show you exactly what we do. Right, Joe, so we found ourselves here at Shelt Hill.
Is it hot enough for you?
It's a glorious day. I've even got the pearly whites out. It's not their first outing, but nearly. They're still white. Factor 50 keeps them nice and pearly white. Yeah. Now, very different to last episode where we were down at the Glebe, which is, we knew that fishery quite well.
Yeah, yeah.
And I'm saying I don't know these kinds of venues at all, and you do. Now, obviously, Eric has informed us that it's absolutely rammed with carp from 3 to 8 pound. There's a million eyed in here.
Yeah, good eyed as well, I reckon.
Yeah, up to 3 pound. Yeah. So, obviously, we had a chat before we came, and talk me through what advice you gave me on bait, because here it is in front of us.
We're quite luxury here because there's not meant to be any sort of nuisance fishing here, so we can sort of tailor our bait really to that a little bit, as in little roach and rudd and little baits, fish that you're trying to avoid with other baits. I think if our float goes under today, it should be something worth having. Substantial, right, interesting. So maggots, I love maggots.
Yeah.
I think they're better than casters for hide, personally.
Okay.
You can fish them on the bottom a little bit nicer. I mean, it's red hot today. We're probably not going to have to fish on the bottom, but to fish shallow with maggots for hide, I think that's just going to be a win-win. So plenty of maggots. And then the only other thing we're maybe going to look at today is the method feeder, and then the margins, because it's so hot. I just can't see any fish being on the bottom in deep water. Can you?
No, that makes sense.
I mean, it is literally going to be close to 30 today. So it's going to be shallow water or fishing shallow.
And you're talking method because that's too long to fish with a pole.
Probably, what will that be?
The peg that we're
18 metres? 17, 18 metres?
Yeah.
So I think the method's probably going to be our best bet to target the far bank.
Because we can get into the shallow water with that, and then we don't need to fish a method on this bank because we can reach it with a pole and fish it. But in a similar kind of style. Because we don't fish the same on a pole as we do on a method,
we're going to have to work it out, I think. Because even when we've just been, like you mentioned in your little intro, there's fish everywhere, isn't there?
Millions of fish.
So actually, with a bait choice, I think we're going to have to make a decision on margins as we're fishing and get a feel for the place. Okay. Rather than committing now.
Yeah, because obviously we brought some ground bait, which I presume is for the margins.
No. I'm going to use this on the method. Rather than pellets to start with.
Okay.
It's red hot in here, and I think red hot, once they've spawned, is like pace season.
And once they start eating pace, which is basically ground bait.
So I love,
wouldn't they?
Exactly, I love putting ground bait and fishing dead maggots on the hook when it's like that.
Brilliant. And obviously I've soaked some micros up in not my style. I've just basically took a bag, covered them with water, so that they can be potted in for the margins, and or a method if that's what it takes.
Yeah, I do think like a little pile of micros down the edge is a winner. Maybe with maggots on the hook. Okay. We could even do some expanders.
Yeah, I brought some of them.
Yeah, we could maybe do a few 6mm expanders. Might be quite
because
nice
I thought the fish were small. Was that?
Yeah, I was thinking. I looked at the website to get a gauge on the size, and I thought they were like pound carp. But actually, looking now, they look decent fish, don't they?
Yeah.
So maybe it might even be bigger baits, bunches of maggots.
Okay. Or even
a 6mm expander. or even an hard pellet, yeah.
Oh, brilliant. Right, that's interesting. Well, I mean, obviously I've also got some dead maggots here, which they're kind of pint dead maggots that are left over. But what I have done, because I wasn't and I weren't sure, genuinely not sure, and although we talked about it, I do like the rawness of what we're doing. So I've actually brought a couple of flasks full of boiling water, so I can kill, because I've got another tub of maggots like that, and we can kill some if we need to.
Yeah, to pile them
I
down
thought
the
if
edge.
that's what you needed at edge, but there's a good pint and a bit there. So coupled up, that should be good. But you also talked about hard pellet.
Yeah, I've got a feeling, and this is why I don't want to commit to saying it's going to be micros and maggots down the edge or micros and expanders. I've got a feeling these fish could be hard pellet fish, and we might be able to catch them down the edge just throwing hard pellets in.
Okay.
And it might be that when we go down the edge, we could start on these, gauge the response, and then work. If it doesn't work, we can maybe go on micros and stuff. But I fished quite a few venues like this where it's just carp, but you get a lot of them in, and actually just throwing hard pellets can be really, really good.
That's why you're here, because
it's confusing, isn't it?
No, it's very confusing, but brilliant, because of course this is what I don't understand. And it's like, well, what's the difference? Why
Well,
would
I'll
we
tell you
throw
what the
hard
difference
pellets?
is here.
I didn't think we threw hard pellets down the edge.
Well, the problem is here, right? As I've watched you plumb up before we started, it's this deep, then it's this deep, then it's this deep, then it's this deep, then it's this deep. And to get a depth that I would want to fish in, 12 to 18 inches, it's actually quite away from the bank.
Okay.
And anyone who does this kind of fishing will have had that time where you put your little pile of micros in or your ground bait in away from the bank, and the fish get behind you in shallow water and you can't catch them.
And they're wafting it everywhere.
And sometimes
you've not got that bank to
keeping it simple with them, just literally feeding free hard pellets. Okay. You get less fishing, but you catch more.
Right.
So I think we might have to go down that route.
Well, brilliant.
Because of how it's plumbed up.
Brilliant.
It's
no,
brilliant.
It's
one of them.
I've learned something already.
But we're going to work it out, hopefully, as we go along.
Right, let's get going. Yeah. While Joe's just off setting up the cameras, I'm going to mix this ground bait up, and despite the fact that I'm at his mercy and also at his beck and call, one thing I don't need to ask him is what ground bait to use, because this match method mix is probably the best ground bait I've ever used, because it's so universal. And I know for a fact that because it's made from basically raw feed pellet on a commercial fishery, there's nothing finer. It's good, works on a method, and it works down the edge. So I'm just going to knock a bit of that up. I've actually got half a bag of standard and half a bag of dark, and that's simply because that's what we're in my van. But I don't think that the fish are going to be worried too much now. I've done it opposite to Joe, because I've put my water in after, so I'm just going to have to work at that a little bit, but get some water into it and make it nice and heavy, and that will work for us. But I'm just going to hold a bit back in case, as Joe said, we need to use a method. So I'm going to mix it to a point where I think it's alright for the method, and I'm going to split a bit off and then wet the rest down for the margins. I'm sure he'll approve. Put my centre to one side. For my method, look. That'll do us, won't it? And then wet this up. Nice and heavy, that full of water. Probably need a bit more, but that'll do us for his margins. Let that soak up. Perfect. Right, Joe.
Yep.
We've sat here, I don't even know what peg we're on. We'll find out in a minute. And
a good one.
Yeah, there's plenty of carp kicking around, we can see them. So we did talk obviously before we came. We had a look on the website. We spoke to Eric the bailiff about what the fish were, and the first thing that you said to me was you're going to need to make sure you've got some different elastics to what we had last time.
Yeah.
Even though we're fishing for carp, and now straight away I get that, because I know I like a different rod for different fish, and when I'm fishing running line, and when I'm silverfish fishing with polyelastic, I like different elastics for different depths, different size fish, different baits if I'm trying to set the hook, etc.
Horses for courses, isn't it?
The first thing I noticed, we're a little bit lighter. So I've got some 8 to 10, some 10 to 12, some 12 to 14, which is the orange, the white and the black tip. That was the first thing that you'd said. So obviously it's different kit, slightly more delicate float, lighter floats rather, as in lighter weights, shorter for shallow fishing. which we'll go through the rigs as we start plumbing up and fishing. But tell me what you're thinking in a general approach, because this is completely alien to me, this type of thing.
I've got to be honest, mate. When I looked at the website and then the Facebook pages and stuff, I thought it was like poleable, the far bank.
Yeah.
I thought it looked about 30 metres, but it's actually not, is it? It's
no.
I mean, that's a full 16, maybe a bit further to them reeds.
Yeah.
So that we're not going to do that. But it'd be foolish to ignore the far bank.
No,
on any fishery.
Yeah, get that.
And I reckon there's a lovely little gap in the grass over there. I reckon a little method plopped over there would be a great place to start our session.
Yeah, makes sense.
You notice that I haven't mentioned the short pole this time. Like last time we started on a short pole, and that is a great on any fishery. But it's so hot. I just can't imagine there's going to be many fish on the bottom in these temperatures.
Okay.
So I think we're going to have to find some shallow water. So I think a start on the method rather than in a deep water shore will be a safer bet.
Okay.
So I think that's how we're going to fish that far bank, a little method, which you're better than me at. So you'll be able to teach me a load today on that, which I think will be great. Then we're going to have to fish for these eyed down the middle shallow, because I love catching eyed.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you absolutely love catching them shallow today.
Yeah. Tricky fish, aren't they?
Tricky fish, but lovely to fish for, I always think.
Yeah.
And we've been told there's a lot of little ones, but there's some real nice 3-pounders as well, so it'd be nice getting amongst some of them. And I think probably fish 7 to 8 metres with them little tiny little rigs,
comfortable
little
length.
tinks floats. I think that'd be nice.
Okay. And
then we've got this margin to consider, which I think is probably where we're going to catch the bulk of our weight, a bit like last time.
Yeah.
It's whether this is one of them fisheries where you can catch down there earlier than.
Well, the fish are down there. I mean, the viewers probably can't see it from where the cameras are, but we'll show you in a while that
there's fish
moving in there, as there is on the far bank. Now, I just want to just ask you something, just for clarity.
Yeah.
Obviously, we know there's a bit of a depth. We've had a plumb up. We'll talk about where we've plumbed in a little while. That it's fairly deep down the middle, and so the fish aren't going to be on the bottom. What you mean is not going to be in the bottom in that depth.
Yeah.
Because if we're going to fish 2 foot, we're not fishing shallow in 2 foot, we're fishing on the bottom in 2 foot, and we're going to fish on the bottom with a method feeder.
Yeah.
So, just to clarity, you mean you're not going to catch them in the deepest part?
Yes.
You've got to catch them in the right depth. So, if we were going to catch fish in open water, in the middle, they'd be probably, I've got this right, at the same depth as what they want to be in the edges.
I think the fish will, these fish will come into shallow water, I'm sure of it. So I think our shallow fishing will be in the top 2 foot of water. Yeah. And I just think if you were to try and fish on the bottom in 6 foot of water today, I just don't think you're going to catch a lot. You will get bites, but you're not going to catch the maximum.
It's not the way.
It's not going to be the way today, I think.
And just out of interest, do you think we'll catch carp shallow on the maggots?
There's a good chance.
Or do you think the eyed will just dominate that?
I'm hoping we just catch a load of lovely eyed, but there's bound to be some carp come along, isn't there? There's bound to be.
Yeah, that'd be interesting for me.
Yeah.
You know, because I'm thinking, right, do I catch carp shallow or do I fish for eyed? I know there's these eyed.
It may be, Mick, that to put a match-winning bag of fish together, you might be better off fishing pellets shallow. And we'll work that out as we go along.
Okay, great stuff.
It may be that they want to come shallow, the carp. It is actually, like I say, it's much wider than I was anticipating, so it could be really good for shallow fishing for carp.
Great stuff. All right, well, let's...
but I think those 3 areas, I think, will cover us nicely.
Brilliant, okay, brilliant. Well, we'll talk about a bit of kit, because just quickly.
Yeah.
So I've plumbed up at what is my top kit and 3 sections of my pole.
Is that how you're fancying for the eye?
It feels comfortable, yeah. And it's sort of just middle-ish.
Yeah.
And I've plumbed that up, and I'm 5 foot note. So it's nearly 5 foot.
Yeah.
Is that. So I've put a 4/14 Cypri, obviously, just for the viewers. Joe advised me on what I needed when we were setting up.
Lovely maggot float, that is.
Yeah, well, it's long enough and stable enough to fish, and I've kind of put a bit of what I call a spread bulk, which is quite tight at the bottom because I want to get it down to the bottom, if that's what we're doing with this rig. I've tied that to 0181 exact, because I know that's fine enough to fish nicely, but strong enough obviously to stand if we do start catching carp. And then I've just popped on that, I've popped a 16 to 148, 16 911
B911?
spade. Yeah, B911 spade, yeah. Which I've tied most of the rigs on for the eyed and some for the margin carp as well. And that's simple on the deck rig. And then above that, and what I've actually done is, as you said, to get some tinks, and I've got a 10s and a 4 12s, which, wrongly or rightly, I've kind of just put bulk shots on. I've set them both at the same depth with a similar length of line so that we can chop it down as we go.
Yeah.
Because I ain't got a clue if we should have it all nice and tight and be super shallow.
I had a funny fish to catch shallow. Sometimes you catch them on a rig like that, lovely, like long line, and they'll hang themselves, like lovely. But sometimes there can be swines to hit the bites, and you have to fish tiny little lines, or even maybe a jigger. I know you're going to mention that.
Yeah.
But that could be the change we make that'll make and break our session. To be fair.
Now I've put just blocks of shot. That's 6 number 10s on the 4x12s and 4 number 10s on the 4x10s. Put pure coincidence. And I've put 16 911 to 1 to 8 exact. They're nice. On 018 as well, because I thought that should be a little bit lighter. Because I know that they're a bit trickier, aren't they? But that should be strong enough to catch anything. They're on the 8s to 10s elastic.
Yeah, that should be a lovely combination. That.
The one on the bottom, the 4x14 Cipri, I put onto a white because I don't know if that's how you are. The lighter one for the shallow, and I listened to what you said last time. Yeah. So I've done that, and then I've put on another white. I've put one of our jigger floats. That's got a little bulk of shots. Now I've put 4-inch hook lengths on all these. And I just want to point out that last time we went, I tied all my hooks. So what I've actually done, I popped that on our anglers group the other day, I've tied, because I ain't got a clue what Joe was going to say, I've tied all my hooks for today on 12-inch hook lengths so that I can chop them down to length, because I want to learn.
I think that's such a good tip for anyone, that is, doing that, because you can use them on your bomb, waggler, long pole, you can use them for all sorts, can't you? I've
tied 20s, 18s, 16s, all to 1 to 8 exact, because I knew that would be strong enough to catch everything, but light enough to catch small fish. I know I could be tricky, so I've tied some 20s and 18s, although you've laughed at me.
Well,
but I thought that they would do for waggler fishing, on commercials, maybe when it's a bit cooler. But then I've tied some 16s to 148, and then I've tied my 14s to 165, and I've done some 12s to 181. Yeah. But I thought, tied them all that long, then I can't go wrong, can I? And so I've tied, strangely enough, a 3-inch hook length on my jigger, and I've put 4-inch hook lengths on my others, and then my margin rig is I've actually put a Diablo.
Yeah.
And a
I love that
0.4,
float for this sort of fishing.
and that's got a nice block of shots. Now I've put 4 inches on that, thinking that we might be fishing in 2 foot odd, but we're more like
it's really
18
shallow,
or 19 inches because it's quite shallow. Is that the right length, 4 inch?
Yeah, I think it is. Yeah, it could be. We've got to work in proportion to our rig, and there's a chance we might have to go even shallower than that.
Okay.
Which will maybe
and then we might have to 3 inch.
Yeah, 6 inch would just mean the bulk's too high on that rig.
Got you.
So you need a 4 inch to keep it in proportion.
Brilliant.
You need the bulk below the bottom half of the rig to give you the stability. So I think that's
it's no
perfect.
good that bulk being here because my hook length was 6 inches.
Yeah,
that's the key to it.
I think that gets your bulk down, gives you that stability, because when them fish are in the edge like they are, moving that rig around, you need that bulk down to I always say it, boss the rig, and that should work an absolute treat. Brilliant. What, you gone for a 0.4?
Yeah, I have, and that's nice. I saw you doing the coaching there at Aston Park recently, what we did, and when you explained that a 0.4, which ordinarily for me, in such shallow water, and I always use the lightest rig I could, but what you're looking for is that weight to, as you say, boss your rig, and I now understand what that's about, because when all these fish are swirling, you want your rig to stay put, and that's obviously what a 0.4 does. So I've tied up some 0.3s and some 0.5s. I mean, I've tied a lovely box of rigs, which we'll show you.
I've been well impressed with your selection.
Well, I just want to make sure that when we come, I've got what we need, and obviously I'm fortunate, I've got access to our kit, and I've had some time, well I ain't had time, but I've made time to fill a rig box and fill some hooks, because ultimately if we're coming somewhere new and we don't know what we need, it's great for me and for the viewers to say, well, this is what we had, we're no good making do, and at least we can learn, and I can build up that portfolio.
It's relatively simple, straightforward stuff, isn't
it?
Good,
brilliant. Which is good. So, let's get started.
What we're going to do, have a bit of a plumb up and show it, because I think this edge is so interesting.
Yep.
I think that's going to be the bit that people love to see. So I'm just going to flip that camera around, Mick.
Yeah, brilliant.
Plumbing up down the edge then, Mick.
Yeah, well, because obviously all them fish were moving, this were the first place that I wanted to plumb, and I've had a little plumb up already, but just to talk everybody through what we're doing. So
it's an interesting situation, isn't it?
I've got fish as close to the bank in my mind, because that's what you've told me in the past. When we went to Glebe, get your float as tight as you can, all nice and bonnet, and it helps to protect your bait and keep everything controlled.
Yep.
Anyway, so I've set my float. I actually set it to what I thought were 2 foot. And just to give you some idea, I went in and because it was stuck out of water, very shallow.
Very shallow, isn't it?
And as I've come, I'm still 2 foot odd off the bank. That I can actually see my shots, which is 4 or 5 inches off bottom. And I'm now a metre off that bank, and there's a bit of a flat area and then it drops off. But just to show everybody that that's the full length of my rig. The rig is
2 metres, isn't it?
30 inches at max.
And then does it go even further?
Yeah, it drops right off. That were a fish.
Yeah, so that's
off it goes. Yeah, away it goes. And I know for a fact, 'cause I've plumbed up out there, that it's 5 foot deep. So I've come in, and what I've actually found is a nice sort of fairly.
It's pretty gradual, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah. It only changes by the length of my float stem across a good foot of area, so I feel quite comfortable with it. Would you say? So all of a sudden that's 18 inches.
Yeah.
Now, is that too shallow?
Right, this margin, like this, they're the trickiest margins to fish, in my opinion.
Okay.
When they go up to nothing, and it's a gradual slope where you can't get up against anything, they're the hardest. There's venues like Larford, Grass Bank, there's numerous of them around the country, because the fish, even though the fish want to come up into this 6 inches of water,
yeah, of course they do, yeah, I can
actually
see
catching them there, it can be really hard, because they're like not comfortable there, but they're like instincts, they just want to come up there. And they're really hard to fish. And the more I've watched you plumb up, the more I'm thinking we maybe need to go down the hard pellet route fishing in the edge today.
And you mentioned that when we were talking about bait.
Yeah, because I think if you pop micros in where you're found 18 inches there, I think it's just going to be chaos.
Because they're going to swirl them everywhere.
They're going to swirl them all the way up this bank. These fish are going to come up into this shallow water where we can't really catch them consistently. You will catch them up there, of course you will. But we're on about consistency.
Not clean.
And I fish a venue, I mention it a lot, called Barbie Banks. Very similar to this. You can get them coming up into the bank. And it was doing me head in. Match after match, I was going home like, why can't I catch them? And the answer was to come away from them, fishing 18 inch, 2 foot of water with hard pellets.
Yeah.
And I just started winning because I just simplified it. And it didn't look as good because I didn't have a million carp in my peg. But when my float went under, it was in the mouth.
So what, as a rule of thumb, and I know rule of thumbs don't apply in fishing because fishing's variable. I'm just going to measure that off. What would you say is the shallowest water you want to fish on the bottom? When you're fishing to the bottom?
Yeah, for carp, because I think it's important to make a distinction between carp and F1s. I think for carp you can catch them in a foot of water.
Okay. Relatively
comfortable.
Yeah.
F1's 18 inches. I don't think F1's particularly like going in mega shallow water, so I think it's important just to say that.
You get too nervous. That's 19 inches.
Yeah.
So a good place to start?
I think that's going to be a good place for us to start down the edge.
Great stuff.
But having seen it now you've plumbed it up, I think we're going to be hard pellet fishing down there, personally.
Okay. Well, I'm going to...
Or you could fish probably meat if you had meat with you, do you know? That kind of thing.
Okay. Why? Go on, explain that.
Just what I'm talking is like a bigger particle bait, so it'd be 6mm pellets or 6mm or 8mm meat. You could maybe fish corn, like a bigger particle.
That's for feeding?
Where we can just feed like 2 or 3 grains and get away with it. So this is where you plan to fish for your hide, is it?
Well, yeah, because that's a nice comfortable length, which is my top kit in 3 pieces.
Just got to just say about the noise, because it's farming season, isn't it?
It is, yeah. They're taking the hay in, aren't they?
Taking the hay in.
They produce a lot of hay for the horses and livestock. But it's a real place. It's a living area, isn't it? So that's where I've plumbed up, and that is 5 foot deep, as I've just mentioned, and I'm just coming right back, and it's still 5 foot deep.
Yep.
So ultimately, some people might say, well, and I'm just going to see if I can reach that. Same full depth, it's just started to come up, look. But if I put on a number 4,
I was going to say about a top kit and 1, it'd be the full depth, is it?
Yeah. Now, if we were fishing on bottom, correct me if I'm wrong, if we were going to fish on bottom, we might as well fish there as fish out there.
Yes.
But because we're going to fish shallow, my natural instinct is to fish further out because the fish are more comfortable.
Yeah, there's this funny thing with shallow fishing where people think, I'll just fish really close in, I'll catch loads.
Yeah.
And you'll see them, but actually, with shallow fishing, it always pays to fish a little bit further than you think, rather than closer. Because over the session, you catch more consistently. Yes, you're not as quick, but you are, because you catch them more routinely over the 5 hours rather
more
than...
effective than speed.
Yeah. Because the fish are just a little bit more confident feeding shallow when you're a little bit further out.
Brilliant.
So
I'm just going to mark that depth.
I always think about, like, when people are roach fishing on the rivers or drains, you would think that a whip would win every single time because you're whipping them out. But 9 times out of 10, a pole will always beat a whip.
It can be too fast.
Because ultimately it's about the fish being comfortable, presentation and all that business.
So obviously I don't need to plumb my shallow rigs up, but we've set them at a depth of a couple of foot.
Yeah, I think we're going to have to work with that.
Start us off. And obviously as jigger that's a variable depth anyway, isn't it?
Yeah. Are you going to start on the method here?
Well, I thought that might be
a good plan, I reckon.
And then we can start feeding, can't we? And,
yeah. Let me just put that. Let's have a bite cam first.
Excellent. Red hot, Joe, innit?
How hot is it?
Glorious day. Good job we've got shorts on, isn't it? So we can feed, which, you know, we're hoping to be able to feed. Might be able to just be comfortable.
Just touch further, innit?
I think it is just a touch further. If I put a bit of effort in, I might be able to reach that. So what I've actually just done is I've got a separate bowl. So I've got micros and I've got my ground bait. And wrong or right, but I'm just going to try it.
I'm really interested to see how you go about this.
Well, I've just...
You know way more about this than me.
I've just put half and half in. Half pellets, half ground bait. And I'm just going to feel my way in.
I think that's a lovely way to fish, mate, half and half.
It's kind of safe, isn't it, I suppose?
Safe.
We'll probably finish up...
I bet I can guess what you put on the hard pellet.
Marooned on far bank. I bottled it then and chucked that a bit short. You have to be a bit nicer than that, because every fishing lake is probably just scarpered, but I'm going to slacken that tip off there, because I'm sure we'll get a... Now, I know you like to fish with your rod pointing at your feeder, and you'll find that's a bit easier, but I don't know if it's my old style. I've kind of got it pointing a bit further towards where I am, but I like a bit of leeway.
Yeah, I get it.
And so I've got my rod kind of 45 degrees to where we're fishing.
I feel like you get used to how you do it, don't you?
Yeah, I think you do, yeah. I like that. I mean, obviously if you're fishing directly in front of yourself, I do see people have the rod straight in front of them. And it's not something that I've ever really adopted, but and I know it does work really well, but this is me. So I've just banded one of these 6mm on that obviously we've got ready for maybe fishing down the edge, and I've had 2 or 3 indications straight away.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see how long you're going to be leaving it in, because it could be an in and out job, this, couldn't it?
Without a doubt, because obviously the fish are very active, and I'm sure that if they're as aggressive as what they look to be, they've only got to hit that feeder and they'll kind of clean your feeder off quite quickly.
One thing I meant to say, have you got any like shadows on your pole line there that you can feed into, like a bush or anything?
There's a little just a bit further. If I'd have put another joint on, I would have actually been into the dark water, if that's what you mean.
I love that, mate, because I'm just looking here from where I'm sat. There's like a lovely like round bush that's casting a lovely shadow, and I always think that's brilliant when you're fishing other methods to fish into something like that, because you can be so accurate with your feeding, like aim at the same thing all the time.
There's obviously a bit of a peak of
trees, isn't there? But it might
trees, and it's the shadow that's casting.
Look, they might be on your shallow line already.
Oh yeah, maybe. This might be short-lived. I'll try and put that in a bit nicer this time.
Yeah, but it's always...
That's not... I'm casting that too hard. I've probably got too... This probably could have done with a 9-foot rod, which I don't normally fish with, but...
It's funny, because we were on a coaching day last week, weren't we? And our good friend Dave Warren was using a little 7-footer on a snake lake.
It were, yeah.
And it were beautiful, wasn't it? And I've never used a 7-foot feeder rod before.
It's not my... I like a bit more control when I'm... That one came off, look.
But it were right for the day, wasn't it? Like this, like you said here, a little 9-footer would be lovely, wouldn't it?
Yeah, but it'd be perfect.
I think you're going to catch loads on this.
Quite busy fishing this, isn't it, already?
I think that's...
that might not be the right upbait, that, but I just thought I'd start on it. And
I think I think it's so important. If shallow fishing is to play a big part in your day, which we think it will do today, you've got to fish something initially that allows you to build that up. So the method's perfect because you can, you're hands-free, aren't you?
Slightly more controlled cast, that. Yeah, you have, I mean, there's carp everywhere.
Yeah.
And what's really funny is I've seen fizzing underneath where I've
Yeah,
thrown
they're
these
on it
maggots
straight away,
already.
aren't they?
Yeah. So some of them have followed it to the bottom.
It's so funny, you know, because
Surprised anything's got to the bottom.
when we fished at the glebe, I think the fish were still stuck in spawning mode, weren't they? We'd had up and down weather.
Yeah.
Whereas I think these fish, and I was out fishing yesterday, and it was the same. It's like they've done it now. The water's lovely and warm, and they're just feeding, aren't they?
They were preoccupied, weren't they, by spawning, and we've had 2 or 3 weeks of really hot weather.
Yeah.
At least 2 weeks of hot
look,
weather. And it's been mad hot this
Put the
week.
camera over there, but they're tailing up like mad over your feeder after 3 casts.
Oh yeah.
That's unbelievable. Look at that.
Oh yeah.
And you can't get a bite.
What's really funny is that, well, I've had one pick it up and drop it. I saw that. Like you said, they're probably behind me feed.
Yep. There you go. Whee. Nicely done.
They're probably behind me feed, where, as you said, what actually happens is this don't feel like a carp.
Oh, I don't know. I wonder if it's a big lolliper.
It could be, because that one that came off, I thought were a silverfish.
What we got?
Not sure.
First fish at Shelt Hill. First of many, I reckon.
It's a little beauty, that's what it is.
What, you got £6 detection on, Mick, or?
I've got 8, and that's because that's what I...
Nice.
And that's overgunned. And if I'm honest, if this were where I'd fish, if this is where I was fishing all the time and my rod was set up for here,
yeah,
I would probably use 6. He's a beautiful...
Yeah, lovely.
We used to call them pasties, didn't we? But I've got £8.
Why, out of interest, why would you use 6 rather than 8? And I'm flipping it back onto you there.
Right. Every bit of fishing I ever do,
yep,
or everything I've ever tried to do, has always been based around fishing as, I'm trying to find the right word, finesse.
Yep.
So, for instance, when I was taught to float fish, use the thinnest line you can, because you get less interference.
Yep.
On your float with a lighter main line, for example. And the same applies to all your fishing. Pole rigs, as I mentioned earlier, I've tied up these rigs to 181 because I didn't feel like I needed the robustness of... I would say that one on top of them, wouldn't you?
Yeah, that was on them. Look at that. Unbelievable. You know, I'm sorry to interrupt your float thing. You know, like, that's taken seconds to get a bite. Do you think they just smash into the feeder?
Do you know something? It's one of them questions that I can't answer, and
because your feeder can't have broke down, can it?
I've caught fish on the drop on a method in deep water.
F1.
It is, I know. And what I've actually done is I've loaded my feeder with the pellet on top,
thinking that you're going to get quick bites.
Yeah, to make sure that it's really accessible.
Yeah, makes sense.
And depending on how long you want your bait to stop in your feeder would depend on how I'd load it. But
what? Because you're thinking this is such quick fishing, you just need it all to happen so quick. Whereas in the winter, we're trying to slow it down, aren't we? Because we're waiting longer for bites.
The first 2 chokes, I got an indication immediately.
Yeah.
And not a slow liner like it were on my line away from me feed. I could see it were around my feed, and what I mean by that is that indications are different.
It's fish eating your feeder.
Yeah. So my idea was
nice.
that if they're going to be around my feeder, I need to make sure that in that initial interest that they have, where they hit it, if they've hit it and took all the bait off the feeder or disturbed it all, then you've got an empty feeder. So you've got to make sure that in that initial inquiry
they can
that
get
they
your
make
bait.
to you.
Is that an F1 as well?
Yeah, it is.
A little comma. Well,
that they can get to your upbait.
I mean, that makes total sense. It's no good hiding your upbait if they're on it straight away, is it?
No, no.
Yeah, makes sense.
That's a little common.
And again, that's like we always mention about, like you always say about this, like you can tell people how to fish a certain way. And all the videos about method feeding these days is all about keeping it tight on a little pile, making sure, but it's a lot of it's relative to Barston or Boddington where you're leaving it out for 20 minutes.
Yeah,
this is a totally different thing, isn't it?
If you're fishing for big fish, like 10 double-figure carp, you're not going to catch one of them like immediately, one a chuck.
Yeah.
A bit of a strange statement, I know, but what I mean by that is that it's not going to be hectic fishing. This is kind of hectic, isn't it?
Yes.
And you're looking to catch a number of fish because they're also competing and they're not just swimming around. I'm not particularly squeezing it that hard in that mould either. Because I'm just hoping for it to open up. The minute that one of them decides that it wants a mouthful, a bit short that look, then...
They're on it though.
Well, I don't know quite idea.
Oh, I'd be interested to see if that shelf's the same as this margin.
Yeah, probably. To me, it looks like I need to be where I've been last 3 casts, which is
grass stains.
Kind of tight, yeah. This feels like a smaller fish. Yeah, so different fish that.
I mean, this is frantic, isn't it?
Yeah, crazy.
So,
but clearly, right.
It's working, isn't it?
Yeah.
They're coming to that ground bait and they're loving it.
It'd be interesting to see how that then pans out, though, won't it? Because ultimately, we could say, right, well, that's how you fish a method feeder up against shallow water, but you know as well as I do that it might not stay like this because we might have too much bait in there, especially when you're catching fish this quick. And I was going to say to you, if you were fishing a pole, you'd be mindful of how much bait you were putting in, or would you? What would you be doing now? As in, if you were pole fishing across there?
Well, you're catching one every chuck in, so you'd just be happy to plod on. It's like you just keep going, wouldn't you, until something changes drastic. I mean, you're not even out of the building phase yet.
No.
And yet you're catching one every chuck in. So God knows what this is going to be like when they actually. Yeah,
I just had a bit of a malfunction.
Yeah, I'm glad to see it doesn't have to happen to me.
No, we're all capable of that.
Happens to me a lot.
Either let's say small speed is the is the key, isn't it? Because
that's nice.
Yeah.
Oh, look at them, Mick. They've followed. Look at that.
Climbing up your rod.
That is incredible, isn't it?
Well, we're obviously packing it right, aren't we? And
so
loading it right.
Funny enough, I was about to ask you that. Have you got that ground bait on the dry side then?
Yes.
So why is that?
Because it's shallow water.
Okay.
And when I say shallow, I think it's inches.
Yeah, it's less than 2 foot, isn't it?
Yeah. And I'm not kind of trying to get my feeder to the bottom because it's already on bottom by the time it's landed, isn't it? And so what I mean by that is that if I were fishing in 8 foot water, for instance, I'd want to make sure my bait was still around my feeder when it hit bottom.
Well, so you think the drier ground bait helps it break down a little bit quicker? And
yeah. Well, what it allows me to do is squeeze it very gently. Now, same again, and we're going to talk about this all the time, aren't we, as 2 anglers, that every scenario is different, and depending how long you needed to leave it for, there's times when you want a wet ground bait. So when you're fishing paste, I think it's so successful because the wetness of it keeps it in a ball. That's its strength, isn't it? That's its strength.
Yeah.
Whereas, and if you wanted to keep your stuff together, your ground bait together or around your feeder for longer, you've got 2 options. You either squeeze it really hard, which I don't like because it traps. I'm not a squeezer anyway, because it traps all your bait on, and sometimes you get fish come in trying to grub at it, they can't get it off, it don't release your hook bait properly, and therefore all you get is a load of frustrated fish. You're introducing more bait because you're not catching the fish properly. They'll eat it, back off, and it's not working.
Grass stains, mate.
Yeah, and
they're the casts that go in your hand. They are.
Yeah, and So what I'd rather do is wet my ground bait
Like
to keep it on. Oh, that one. Oh, do you know something? I thought that had been on and off, but I don't know what happened there. I'd rather wet it to keep it on than I would keep squeezing it harder and harder and harder.
Yeah.
These are lovely fish, aren't
I
they?
love this. I'm learning myself here. Like the roles reversed. I love it.
I doubt that, but
No, because I don't do a lot of method fishing. Like the venues I go to, they're not really feeder venues. So
no.
How can I not learn off you?
Well, it's very effective.
I mean, if it did this, you'd just stay doing this all day, wouldn't you?
Of course you would. Of course you would.
In a match.
I tell you what it is as well. It's comfortable, isn't it? It's not strenuous. You're not waving a pole around. If we were trying to catch on a pole against them reeds,
oh, that'd be hard work.
You know, like some of these young'uns doing the tipping and tapping and overshotting, and then that's graft. But I'm going to put this statement out here. Anybody could do this.
Yep.
That's what I like.
I mean, I don't think anyone could chuck it nice like you can.
Well, we've got something called a line clip, and it's like cheating, really, isn't it? I pride myself on being able to cast without a line clip, but
you need it
the
for
beauty
this, though,
of
don't
them.
you?
Yeah, so we'll show that up in close in a bit. But I can see top of my pellet,
yeah,
and it's quite dry, as you say, because you've obviously clocked that, and that means that it's just
that kissed the daisy on the way in. That
yeah,
did.
yeah. I just need to get me.
There's actually a snag there, isn't there? Or you've been done already?
Is it on?
Yeah, I think so.
I
mean, they're taking that within 10 seconds, aren't they? Which proves exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, so I think the question you asked me were, do you think they're smashing into it? Well, they must be. And I want to make sure that as they smash it, they've got access to my upbait, which is the long-winded way I've answered. And that dry mix, and I think the pellets in it create that consistency that allows it to break down a little bit easier as well.
Bit long, that handle, isn't it?
Yeah. That's me, isn't it, as a natural angler? Yeah. Because I'm used to using longer rods. Although I've seen some of these young bucks that fish these commercials, they love a long handle these days because they like to reach to the fish, don't they?
I love it for big carp.
Yeah.
I mean, look at them over there, mate. I'll show you the camera in a bit. I'll pan around there, but it's just I've not seen them like that over a method for a long time. Lindome used to be like that back in the good old days.
Do you think it's the size of the fish?
Yeah, I think these are eating machines. I think these fish, these carp, they're growing, aren't they? They're fit and healthy, and they're feeding now. I mean, look at them. I mean, if you can cast in that little spot every time, you're going to catch fish every go, aren't you?
Yeah. It's very, very effective.
I mean, look at that. It's going in your hands.
Yeah. I have hooked a snag.
There is a snag there, yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting about your hook bait choice. 6mm pellet's great, isn't it? Always has been, always will be.
Well, listen, I asked a few questions on the first episode of this, which was, you know, if you throw in pellets, why is it not a pellet on the hook? And I don't know if that's me. If I'm loose feeding maggots, I don't want to put a caster on. If I'm loose feeding maggots, I don't want to put a worm on. If I'm loose feeding worms, I want to put a worm on. If I want to loose feed caster, I want to put a caster on. And round this feeder is ground pellets.
Yeah.
They like pellets. They're reared and fed on pellets quite often. Pellets are the bait that everybody wants to use.
But obviously everyone's wafter mad nowadays, aren't they?
Wafters are fantastic.
Quite rightly so, but pellets on these, when they're feeding like this, it's tough to beat pellets, isn't it? Or even maggots is good, to be fair.
I think they recognise they recognise it as a bait.
That's a good one, Mick.
Yeah, he's a better fish, and he weren't quite as erratic, were he? Did you notice his bite was slightly
different?
Yeah,
it was,
I didn't pick up straight away because I was like, what's going on there? And he'd obviously got it, and he was swimming with it and trying to run with it.
Biggest one we've had so far, isn't it?
Yeah, he's a nice fish.
I mean, how good's the fishing, by the way?
It's incredible. Here's a better fish.
I know what they'll say on the comments. You got late to yourself, but there's actually loads of people here today.
Yeah, there's a guy just down to his left, and there's 4 or 5 guys just up to his right. I think they've fished there because it's closer for walking. You little bugger. Oh, sorry for swearing. You're not supposed to say that, are you?
Do you know what I found really interesting, Mick? Since you've been fishing, all the fish that were in the edge have gone, as if they've gone over there where they're getting fed.
It wouldn't surprise me because they are hungry fish, aren't they? And they're keen. And I've just remembered, I've not really finished telling you my theories on line thicknesses.
It's easy to get distracted when the fishing's as good as this.
Yeah, so for my commercial, because I don't go commercial. When I go method feeder fishing, I fish a feeder master.
You fish a lot of commercials with feeder only.
Yeah, so Barston, the Larford type fisheries, fish decoy, because they're where feeder masters is, and the competition obviously is very close to my heart. And I only have 2 lines really, 2 main lines, which are 6 and 8 pound. So if I'm casting a bit further, I like a 6. Mm-hmm. If I'm industrial, which I'm going to say you could class this as being that, because if you came here every week and did this,
I think you'd want £8, wouldn't you?
Because it's going to take some stick.
Yep. It's
going to take a lot of stick.
Ooh.
And look at that, look.
First one.
Yeah, it does happen. And it's about, and I said this on the last one regarding mainlines for the pole rigs, robustness. Everybody talks about breaking strains, but for me, it's about the robustness of it. So the durability, and obviously a thicker line will take more stick. Mm-hmm. You know, if it's rubbing on the bottom or on edgy landing net or on a snag or whatever. Now, I suppose then a rule of thumb would be that. Took it out of my hand, didn't it?
Who needs a rod rest?
A rule of thumb would, oh yeah, monkey. Now then, so that's interesting.
This is what you were talking about?
2 fish, yeah. Just check my hook, make sure it's not damaged.
We have a lot of tangents on this, but I think the tangents are good. And I remember at the Glebe, when we were out last, off camera, you were worried about your hair rig and you'd like changed it, and you started catching after you changed it.
Yeah.
Do you think something's gone on with that? Because I know it's really tight.
I just checked the point, yeah. And it feels all right.
But I think you were on about the hair length more than the...
Well, last time I felt like maybe I'd tied it badly, and the hair seemed a little bit short, and my pellet I felt were a bit tight. Mm-hmm.
So it's a bit too tight to the hook, you think?
And they weren't hooking it properly, yeah. And I just wondered if there was something wrong with that one, and I wondered if it was the point. See, that's come off. I'm going to change that hook.
That's amazing, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah. Or is it because we're putting too much bait in and they're going a bit crazy?
Yeah, because when we go like micro pellet fishing to the mudland, we have different pole pot sizes, and often the lakes where there's the most fish, you put the smallest pot on to try and minimise it.
Yep.
Because you're in and out so often, you're putting too much bait in. Like, I always remember Tommy Pickering saying to me, like, if you're casting all the time, every 5 minutes or less, use the smallest feeder you can. Yeah. If you're chucking out every 5 minutes to 15 minutes, use the large. If you're chucking every 15 to 25 minutes, use the extra large.
Yeah.
And I think that's such a good, like, mindset to have.
Yeah, because if you were loose feeding, you've got more of a variable.
So what you're doing there is shortening them hook lengths.
Yeah, so they're all tied to 12 inches. This is actually a...
So you've got a little measure on your side tray and you're just measuring it and...
Yeah, I'm right in saying 4 inches would be right. That's my starting point.
Working lovely, isn't it?
Well, it weren't until I just lost 3 fish on bounce, but who knows. That's actually a KKH 16, which I do like them.
Yeah, you've got a lot of time for them, haven't you?
Yeah, for method fishing.
Great hooks.
They're a great hook, but I'm not sure if we've just damaged that on a fish.
Well, you did get snagged, didn't you? So I just wonder whether
good point, yeah.
Whether the point's gone.
Oh, we'll see, won't we? it might be that we need to put less pellets and more ground bait in, because...
I do think people don't pay enough attention to the sharpness of the hooks.
Well, when you're air rigging, you're not...
That was right in amongst the audience that you've got over there, isn't it?
Yeah, don't let them put you off. I've had bigger and more critical audiences than Five Coots. Similar sounding thing, but spelt differently.
Now.
They...
I always remember I was on the Trent, and it was the first time I'd ever tried to... I went with Rob Wotton, and we were fishing, and I couldn't hit these dace bites, and he came up to me, and
that one's come off,
and he just says, it's because your hook's gone, and I felt it, and I'm like, no, it's fine. He says, trust me, your hook's gone. I put a fresh hook on, and it was like, dink, dink, got one, dink, dink, got one, dink, dink, got one, and then I started missing him again, and he's like, your hook's gone again. And every time I put a fresh hook on, you'd catch again.
Yeah.
Because it would razor sharp.
Yeah.
But because obviously the river, you're fishing over rocks, it just dulls over time. And
I'm just gonna...
when you're banding, because you're not hooking a maggot on, you sometimes don't check your point, and I think that's so important.
I've just put ground bait on, just ground bait that time. No pellets have gone into my ground bait ball, and something snatched at that, and...
Yeah, it's gone a bit wappy now, hasn't it?
Yeah, so I've just put ground bait in because I think that might help to...
Slow it down a bit.
Yeah, because they can chase pellets all around your swim, but ground bait kind of just disappears into ether, doesn't it? I tell you what, there's no shortage of action here, is there?
I can't believe it.
So yeah, I was going to say, rule of thumb, full line, we'll finish this chapter, is you should fish as robust a line without interfering with your presentation, is my theory.
Sage advice, I'm saying that is.
So provide, if you're float fishing, make sure you can cast and the thickness of your line is not interfering with the presentation of your float or your bait. With feeder fishing, it shouldn't impair your cast, because you can't cast a long way with thick line, because the drag, it comes off the spool, it goes through your rings, it doesn't work the same, which is why we use shock leaders, thinner main line and a thick shock leader to cast off for strength. That's always helpful and advisable. And in this case, because we're only casting on any of these types of fisheries 20 metres, then this £8 £8 detection.
You got yourself a daisy there.
I did have a daisy, and
they're trying to eat the feeder off the surface.
Yeah, it's a little bit dry, that ground bait on its own. And that, I could tell that when it water it were coming apart, but I just smudge that ground bait up a bit.
What do you do? Just tweak it with your fingers then?
Yeah, just like to rub it through. The beauty about, which is why I split this particular ball of ground bait off away from my margin mix, just so that I could keep control of it. Was the idea. It's just got a little bit more tact to it, but I want that dry for me. So the last caster were just ground bait, and then I'm just using ground bait because I think it might calm my peg down a bit. But we have got a lot of bird activity.
There's a lot of bird activity.
That might make the fish a little bit uneasy. And then turn my clip round. It's funny that, you know, I always like to have my clip facing me, because when you're putting your bail arm round, it's in the right place. Whereas when you clips on back of your reel and you're pulling your bail arm over, you're pulling line across front of your spool. It might seem a bit odd, but
details.
Yeah, it just helps for less tangles, less issues, less problems. And it's all gone a bit strange, hasn't it? You noticed? Liners and plucks and pegs going a bit crazy.
There's a lot going on over there at the minute.
Yeah. See, for me, you have to recast. I'm fast, look. Because I'd had loads of fish around my feed. The reason why I didn't catch one is because it was stuck. But had loads of indications, didn't have a fish. So I would imagine, under normal circumstances, when it weren't stuck, that means they've cleared my feeder off, and I'm sat there waiting for no reason. It's quite clear that every fish I've caught has took it quickly and cleanly. So why leave it if your feed is empty? You're just going to finish up with like a load of line marks. And
no, it's not.
No, it's all going to be odd,
isn't it? And
so
this
I'm glad we fished through that crazy little period, because we're just showing everybody, and me, and I'm like, right, what's going off here? And what might have to happen is I might have to fish a clean spot.
Do you know? I'm glad you said that, because that's what was going through my mind.
Oh right, that's brilliant. Well,
because I'm just trying to relate it to my pole fishing.
Yeah.
And it might just be like left to the left, or
yeah, absolutely.
You've got a lovely bank there, haven't you?
You can work your way along it. And that might be all it is, that it's
because there's a lot of fish there,
contaminated, and there's that many fish there they can't see woodfoot trees, as it were. Too competitive.
And there's that snag that's bothering me and all.
Yeah, I've just felt it. Yeah.
Right, we'll come back then, eh?
Yeah, perfect.
Well, Mick, this has been, I'm going to say, frantic but interesting at the same time.
Well,
because it hasn't been as smooth sailing as what it was when we started, has it?
No, the one thing I've got going through my mind, I'm kind of chuckling to myself, because I'm what I call a grinding angler. I kind of keep plugging away. I've got perseverance.
Oh, that's a good one.
Whereas you're a real fidget, which is a brilliant attribute to have, I think, when you're commercial fishing. That is a good fish. And basically, what I mean by that is that obviously we caught all them fish straight away, immediately. Unbelievable. And then it went a bit funny. Obviously I changed that up because I thought it weren't sharp enough. I don't think it was that at all, because then what I've done is I've just took a foot off my clip and chucked it to that sort of second little hole, if that's the right word. I've also, I'm not going to lie to anybody, in the meantime I've ripped my band off because it's had too much hammer. So I've just stuck a maggot on. But before my pellet came off, I moved along the bank of it to some clean water. Now that's something that you do, and that's what I'm talking about by me being a grinder. I just want to keep ploughing the same spot, and what's wrong with him. Because my style of fishing is to feed the fish to me.
Yeah.
Whereas with these things, I think what you've taught me, and I've heard you doing this before, is sometimes you've got to have a clean spot, because you get too many fish and your peg gets contaminated.
Yeah.
Where there's a lot of bait in your swim.
I mean, look at that.
And I think what happens is, it's dead effective. By moving, we've got a clean spot. There's not too many fish in the area, although they're all on women.
Yeah, they're there now, aren't
they? That's a common thing, Joe, isn't it?
Oh, it's massive. I think on these prolific commercials, which there are a lot of, let's be honest, where you are catching fish most chucks in, you can have too many fish in your swim. And I know it sounds ridiculous, but you can. And it can be hard to catch them when it's like that. I was at a place yesterday, and I'm not kidding, Mick, there was 100 carp in the margin. But if you put your bait right in amongst them, you could not catch one, because they just can't see it. And that sounds the most ridiculous thing. So in that situation, I had to fish short of the fish and wait for one to come. And it was only a few seconds, granted, but actually moving away from the main gang and to fresh bottom was more important than actually fishing where all the fish were. And this is a classic example of that. You've moved and it's one to chuck again, isn't it?
Yeah, which goes against natural instincts, because if you've got all the fish in an area, you want to throw your bait right in the middle of them. Bream fishing's similar, you know, because if you've got a load of fish in your peg and they're all grubbing up bait, you get a load of liners, you're not getting a clean
pick up.
And sometimes you've got to pick off the edges. Sometimes it might be a yard to the left, might be a yard past. Sometimes you can even catch them a yard short, but ordinarily it's on the edges of your very busy swim is the clean area where
Yeah, I mean, that's worked an absolute treat, hasn't it?
Hasn't it, yeah. Yeah, just that clean spot. I mean, I'm not even getting ready.
I mean, we hear about the lads who fish for skimmers on the pole, like Matt, and who we had on the mixing bowl recently, and they often feed at 12.5 and fish at 13 to get on away from the bait, don't they?
Yeah, yeah.
Or even a metre past. And I heard Steve mention on a video he'd done, and he spotted a load of bait in at 50 metres and then fished 55 and 60 metres.
Yeah.
And it's the same theory, isn't it?
Yeah, of course it is.
It's the same. It's just, it's amplified when you've got so many fish in such shallow water. You can see it actually happening here.
Well, attracting fish and catching fish is two different things, isn't it? And it's a bit, would you say it's the same thing as what you talked about down this edge when we were feeding that you'll finish up with too many fish and you've got to be able to catch them.
If you put any ground bait in here, it's just going to go loopy, I know it. I've seen this situation a million times, and it's going to be so hard to catch them.
And you're basing that on
what's going on over there and the depth of water. That beach, it's obviously that this lake is prolific with, I mean, it's solid, isn't it?
Oh yeah, there's loads of fish in it.
So
yeah, but it's solid, but we can't catch one every chuck because we did and then we didn't because we
still got to do it right.
Massive less than that. I thought that were only when you were like tapping an odd pellet in winter. Jamie Hughes is famous for tapping 6 pellets in and fishing and fishing and fishing. Catches 3 skimmers, then he can't catch one, or he misses a bite.
Moves. It's all the same.
Is that what that is?
That's what that is.
Just on a. So
I always remember.
I'd be tempted to just keep chucking in that ball of fish.
Yeah, and you might get another good run of fish, but you've literally caught one the first chuck you've moved because the fish they're hungry, aren't they? They're coming to your feeder.
Yeah.
So we do a bit of pole fishing.
Well,
you're done with that, aren't you?
Well, I feel like we've
gaffed that, I think.
Yeah, if you moved along, we've got a nice area. Be hard to do it here. It'd be interesting to see what you do here. If you got a bare bank, it's easy. But what do you think? What would happen if you did it?
I'd love to know how deep it is in front of them. It's probably not going to be that deep, is it?
I don't know. We'll have to find out a bit
2
later.
foot maybe. Obviously, a perfect situation here. You got that bare bank to cast to, and there you haven't. So, are we going to do a bit of pole fishing?
Well, we've been feeding shallow, haven't we? Well, I've been trying to feed shallow, but most of the time I've been reeling carping. But I noticed there's a few fish moving in and around us as maggots that we've been throwing in.
Well, I'm just going to quickly move on the camera onto the float then, and then
okay, brilliant.
And we'll come back and talk float fishing. Now we're in my wheelhouse, Mick.
I feel completely out of control. So I've just picked this rig up, which I've not really thought about depth and. This is the one with. Let me just get rid of that.
Is that the 4x10 you've started on?
I started on the 4x10, yeah. It's a little hard, look.
Can I take this off? You're doing me head in.
Not a problem. You're the gaffer. Right. So I just picked that rig up while you were just moving the camera. Obviously, I've been flicking maggots there. Tell me what you're expecting, because I'm not sure what to expect here. Because I saw a carp or two.
Yeah, I've got to be honest. I'm really surprised you got that hide.
Probably because I'm doing it wrong.
No. I think I want us to catch some hide, so I'm really pleased about that. I thought we'd just get carped out, to be honest, but that's a great sign. Now, the first thing I would do...
I've got quite a lot of line.
You've got a lot of line.
Yeah, I'm aware of that.
Not necessarily a bad thing, given how bright and sunny it is. So I think let's just go with that for a minute. But what I'd love you to do is put 3 number 8 back shot about 3 inches above that float.
3 number 8s?
Yeah, just to give something to hold on to.
Okay.
And I think that'll just straightens your line up below your pole tip.
Yeah.
It gets you direct to your float a bit more, and it can be a real edge, because these hide can be finicky little devils.
Isn't it funny that, because I get it, I know we do that for carp fishing. Just remind me again.
Well, what we're doing here is, in an ideal world,
how far above my float?
3 to 4 inches. In an ideal world, you would fish with a length of line above your float as short as you could possibly do it, maybe 2 to 3 inches.
Okay.
And I'm not saying today, because the fishing might be so good we'll get away with it, but on some venues, when it's hot and still like this, they won't come under the pole. So having a little bit longer line, like you've got,
right,
is the answer, but actually hitting the bites when you've got a long length of line like that can be hard work. So then 3 number 8s allow you to use a long line, but you're getting a similar effect to as if you had a short line, because you're almost direct onto your float, look, like that.
I've seen, yeah.
So it's actually,
yeah.
you're giving that, you've got the pole away from them a little bit, and then you've got, as soon as that float goes in, you're in contact, so it just straightens your line up.
Yeah.
Can work an absolute treat. It may be that we can fish with a lovely little short line today, or even the jigger.
Got you.
But we'll work that out as we go.
So obviously, I know there's a lot of big hide in here. There are a couple of little ones, which are great, and I have seen some carp and I have seen some bigger fish swirling. Well, we've been fishing feeder and loose feeding there, but I see what I can tell straight away.
You see with the difference?
Yeah. It's funny. Do you slap and flick your rig over?
It's all about experimentation on the day.
Right, okay.
Generally, as a rule, the stiller it is, the quieter they want it, as in not slapping.
Right.
And the windier it is, you can make a bit more noise. But either aggressive fish, they're predators. People don't think they are, but they're actually predators.
Yeah, I'm thinking about them in a nice, gentle.
So they're quite aggressive fish anyway.
Yeah.
And so they might come to the noise. Now I'm thinking straight away. I think we're too deep.
They're too deep, or I'm too deep.
I think the rig's too deep.
Yeah.
Only because the shallower you can go and still get bites, the better. Keeps things cleaner to catch them, and you often get the better stamp fish.
Okay. Right. Well, let me just get me some bit more feeding, because that's right at the extreme of me.
Yeah, I'd be cattying them, I would, if I was sat on the box.
Would you?
Yeah, I'd have a little delicate catty.
To put more in, or
just to keep them tighter?
I'm getting indications straight away on that. That's right. Okay, because you think you've got more control like that. So that's set at 20 odd inches, 22 inches. I'm going to say.
I always think when you're feeding for shallow fishing, you've got to imagine like a dustbin. Like you're trying to get all your bait to land in a dustbin. I know it sounds easy, but it isn't. And you're trying to create that column in the water so that the fish are used to feeding in the same spot. And when you're throwing maggots, you get some that go a bit further, you get some that land short, you get some that spread out. And I just feel like the catty just allows you to be just a little bit more.
Not like that.
Not like that. No, you need a little delicate one, really.
I think I've got one in my bag.
I'll have a root in a sec.
Yeah, that's far too strong, that catty. That's as light
I'm going in your bag.
That's light as my delicate hands can
tackle.
I was just sneaking a bit of line off my rig while you were gone. I said,
Yeah.
"What gaffers away? I'm just gonna." I actually managed to get one pouch of maggots in right place, and, I just lost one, and I thought I'd tangle my rig.
I'll give you a child's catapult now.
Oh yeah. It's like a catapult, only smaller, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, they are shallow, aren't they?
Yeah.
Oh, that's it. Yeah, straight away.
So as soon as you get to grips with that.
That's interesting. That's a solid, like a hard pouch, that, isn't it?
Yeah, one of them little cup ones.
Yeah.
I found them really good.
It keeps it tight, doesn't it?
Seems to, yeah.
Always put your pole sections safe. Another great tip.
But I mean, the difference already, like with your feeding.
Yeah. No,
it's tightened it up straight away, hasn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, look at that.
Yeah. And by shortening my rig, which straight away I can tell,
yeah. You're getting into it.
I'm all tighter. Oh no, I was just saying to camera when you were aware that rust is not the word. That yeah, you can. I've done this with roach, but it's they get a different bite off them. You're not as tight. You're not as. It's a bit like shallow ent fishing. You have to have your rig balanced, the right length of line, the right float. You have to get your feeding right. It's a rhythm thing, isn't it? I think that's the best way to describe it.
I think what maybe we need to look at is feeding before you ship out as well.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
Swine.
On and off, yeah. I actually don't think I'm at the right depth. What do you think?
No, I think they're
even shallower.
Yeah.
That catapult's brilliant.
Change, hasn't it?
Yeah.
Just makes it so much easier. Mick, I was one that I always wanted to throw my bait in because in my head it's faster.
Yeah. But we've talked...
Less haste, more speed all the time, isn't it?
Yeah.
And I think when you do it with a catty, you end up in a better rhythm. When you throwing by hand, you end up throwing 2 to 3 times in 10 seconds. Whereas with a catty, you end up feeding every 30 seconds and get a lovely like routine going.
Because you're having to put your catapult up in a methodical... Yeah.
Whereas if I was throwing maggots in, I'd have probably thrown 2 more dollops of maggots in by now.
Yeah, of course you do, because you've got to put your catapult up. It's slowing you up.
Yeah. I mean, that's lovely now, isn't it?
Oh yeah, you can tell straight away. You know that you... Yeah. You know that you're...
That's beautiful, isn't
it? Keeping it tight. I think Eric were telling us that there's a lot of massive hide in here, but they're older stock, and these are the self-setting
offspring, aren't they?
Fish that are bred in here.
Do you know what I'd love to see, mate? More prolific in our rivers.
Wow.
Because there's some massive ones in the Trent and the River Hull, I believe.
I've had over 4 pounder. Oh, it's a great story. So we were fishing, practicing with Barnsley, and you couldn't have had a worse crowd because it were Lee Carey, James Dent, Matt Godfrey, Frankie, myself, Nicky Crooks, I think, and I've had this hide on single caster. We were catching roach and just silverfish, and we had it right for national, which went on to win. Anyway, I've had this. I thought, what's this? I thought it was a bream at first. Comes up 4 pound odd hide. My first ever one out at Trent. Anyway, I've popped it in a minute. I've had a bream and Lee's caught a load of little fish. We had a great practice session down at it'll come to me, just below Fiskerton. And while we were looking at everybody's fish, working our upstream, it's jumped out my net. So they were on me who I'd caught it. And they were like, no you didn't. And
whatever, mate.
To this day, it's a mystery hide. It's not I never caught it in their mind. Although that was my first ever one, and there must be loads of them. And I've seen some specimen anglers.
Yeah, there's a
fishing
fella
for Chobe and Barbel who've caught them on big baits.
Yeah, there's a fella who fishes from on the River Hull on Facebook and on the Des Taylor Facebook page actually, and he catches them £7 plus regularly.
Does he really?
Yeah.
Do you think they're escapees from?
Yeah, definitely. I think they come out of there was a venue I used to fish called Hosticks.
Oh yeah.
Over Hull way, and that was an amazing fishery. And one year it got flooded and all the fish went down the dyke, and I think they ended up in the River Hull.
Got you.
Because there were loads of hide in there.
I don't know what's going on here now. I've got something wrong. I've had them mouthing me bait. I can feel them.
I think we need to be shallower again. I think.
Yeah. Is that because I've got into a more regular feeding pattern? And
yeah, I just think that as you're fishing, they come up and down in the water column, don't they? And might be an odd carp swimming around as well.
Yeah. It's interesting, isn't it?
That little lift there, what you just did, I think that's really important. Yeah, like that.
Just keeping it all tight.
Yeah, just keeping it moving, keeping that hook bait moving. Because the static bait's pretty lifeless, isn't it?
Yeah, of course it is. Yeah, there's fish swimming in and through my bait there.
What's that? And you've got on the end?
I think that is a skinned.
I've not seen a maggot like that for a long time.
No, that's mugged me off. That's what they're saying. It's mugged me off.
Mugged you off.
Shall I just shallow up a bit then?
Yeah, I think so. Them big eyes they're a bit like big F1s. They can sit really shallow. And often you don't even see them.
I have caught them. I caught them on one evening. Me and my brother went fishing to Ravenfield Pond, which is near me. Fantastic natural. I'm saying it's natural. It's a natural venue, but it's been stocked sort of commercially, not with carp, but tenge, eyed, and I've caught them there where you'd be convinced you'd see them take your bait because you're fishing that shallow. You don't, and they are massive.
Massive, yeah.
3 and 4 pound fish. Incredible things.
You know what you stop doing, don't you? Feed him before he's shipping out.
Yeah, I have, yeah. And I'm now finding me a bit Olivet Lake because I'm useless at it, which is why I think a lot of people fish closer, don't they? I've lost my Discordia, Joe.
No one wants that.
So you'd like to catch them on rivers, would you?
I just think I think they're actually native from Sweden, aren't they? And that's where they live, in rivers.
Scandinavian fish.
They're beautiful fish.
Mm.
I just think they'd be a welcome addition to our rivers, to be honest.
You think they'd thrive?
I think I could. Can you imagine catching them on a stick on a nice bit of river?
Well, they're a bit like a dace and a
like
chub which are great sport, aren't they?
And they feed well throughout the year, which is nice.
Yeah, they do feed because they catch them on commercials in winter, don't they? So they'd certainly feed on rivers, because we used to catch chub brilliantly in winter, didn't we? On rivers.
What are you feeling like? The indications. Talk me through it.
Well, they're not swirling. When I've got my float dotted proper to try and have less resistance, I think I'm a bit messy. I think I'm not very fluid. I got into a rhythm and that wasn't good, and then I've kind of lost that.
Because you're not actually getting loads of indications, are you?
No, it's not. My float's not dancing.
Maybe we do need to go deep. Maybe that bit deeper was better.
Yeah, I was going to say to you then, I just feel that might be a few inches too shallow. Mm-hmm. Not much. And it is. I'm right in saying, Joe, it's fine lines in it.
Oh, the number of times when you're shallow fishing and you deepen or shallow up by an inch or two, and that's it, you're into them.
Is that why, obviously, the lads who do this commercial shallow fishing have loads of rigs set up?
That's exactly why.
And they're at 2 and 3 inches increments.
So rather than moving the float all the time, they just pick a different rig up. But it's obviously it's a big investment for having all the kits. But it is the key to it. Unfortunately, is been on top of them depths.
Just move that a couple of inches.
As it is fishing against the island, as it is fishing in the margin, it's the same.
I was shipping out 11 metres of pole there, and I ran out of pole. Yeah, just a bit scrappy, and I think that were indication straight away.
I'd be tempted to try a jigger if I'm honest.
What, to get the depth?
Yeah, I think it would just make the job easier.
Interesting.
I think catch more fish.
Yeah, because I can feel them. There's an odd fish mouthing at it. And I could get an odd dink and a tap and a like that. And that looked like a proper bite. And
there were carp there, weren't there?
Yeah, there were. Yeah.
And of course, they'll upset the eye being in your peg.
Catch and release that when he jumped his son out at net.
Pass me that rig while you have a go on the jigger.
Yeah.
I'm going to have a fast.
There you go. Put me right, Gaffer.
No, I'm just try shortening the line again.
So, more of a bolt rig?
Yeah. So we had a day on the jigger, didn't we, last year?
Yeah.
And you caught loads of fish with it, didn't you?
That were at Shearsby, weren't it?
Shearsby, yeah.
I must admit, I'm a bit alien to it.
Although
it's very effective.
Oh, it's.
I have to say.
It is deadly. People, for some reason, don't associate with hide so much, but it can be just as effective for hide as it can for F1s. Was that a carp?
It could be. Small carp. It's interesting, isn't it?
Straight on the jig.
Mm.
Did you even get a chance to jig, or was it on the...
No, we're on the fall.
On the splash.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we're in a situation here where there's a lot of fish.
Yeah, but you'd think that they'd just pull your elastic out, wouldn't they, when you were fishing like we were before? But that's the misconception, I think, that when you're... Hey, oh, I managed to spray maggots there on every peg. That's what you want, nice and tight. You want your bait nice and tight. I get that, makes complete sense to me. It's funny because I'd flicked that rig just past.
Yeah, I do like doing that myself with a jigger, to be honest. Often, like, they come straight to that little plot.
Yeah. That might be because it was a carp, I don't know, but...
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're shallow, aren't they?
So, talk to me. I am so inexperienced with this.
Right, so with the jigger,
talk to me what we're
trying to work out where the fish are sitting. So what you're looking for when you're jigger fishing is them side movements. So when you're going through the fish,
yeah,
the float like moves to the side, and you've got to keep your eyes peeled because it might just
see
be.
That we're mega shallow.
Yeah,
I almost lifting float out of water.
Super shallow. So you see that?
And that one again, yeah, same here. So that was shallow.
So now I'm straight away thinking, right, we need to move that stop down. Because ultimately you want to get down to the stop and have it at the depth where you think the fish are.
Oopsie daisies. I haven't quite got hang of that.
Again,
yeah, so
they're really shallow.
They are, yeah. I can see that.
So to make it less guesswork, what I like to do is move my bead down.
Yeah.
I always like to fish to the bead, if that makes sense.
Okay. So how far we're saying?
Because I find it when I'm jigging. Let's have a look.
That's milk.
Yeah. Yeah, let's give that a go. Because I find when I'm jigging and I'm catching them not on my stop, I never really got a reference point as to where it is. Whereas if I move it down to the stop and I jig an inch or two below that, then at least I know where I'm at.
Yeah, makes sense. Tell you what, it's warmed up since that wind dropped.
Oh, it is absolutely scorching.
It probably feels hotter for you than it does for me, because at least I'm active, aren't I?
Oh.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that's it. That's where they are, mate. They're really shallow.
Yeah. And I just held it, and it's funny because, like you're saying, I can see where my bead is.
That's what I mean. You can drop it straight down to that.
Oh,
that's rude, isn't it?
Yeah. Brilliant. So, despite this place being full of fish,
right, feed now.
They're pulling your rod in.
Yeah.
When you're chucking over there, this is not straightforward. Well, it probably is for somebody who's more. Not quite as rusty or even clueless, like me. Yeah, see that way.
Yeah, they're really up. They're even shallower than that.
Yeah, they are. Yeah.
That bigger fish, look.
What's happening now then? Not quite got that right, because that's two fish that have come off. Is that because I'm not setting the hook?
Could be the elastic.
Too strong?
Could be.
Yeah. So if I swap this out for the, because this is 10 to 12, which obviously isn't strong, but I just stopped myself casting in so I could feed. And I'm getting excited. I tell you what, you have to be very, very disciplined.
You do. It's a process. It's just like when you feed a fishing, mate.
Yeah, of course it is.
It's just
it's a lot easier to get.
Look how shallow they are.
Yeah, they're super shallow, aren't they? Very easy to get. Not lackadaisical, but slightly excited with this, because you're firing bait in.
Exactly what I was saying about throwing the bait in. You end up being too fast.
Yeah.
That's where they are, mate. That's where they are.
Yeah, they're shallow.
Nice and steady. Just shit back lovely and steady, and that white will be all right.
No, it's. I can tell it's too strong, because you want. I think. Tell me if I'm wrong, but when I shallow fish for natural silverfish, you don't want the bounce, you just want it to be.
Yeah, you want it to just go down.
As all the fish are just swimming along with it in its mouth.
I mean, I'd are notoriously splashy anyway, so.
Well, I'll tell you what, because listen, we're here to learn.
Yeah, just try this rig for me.
I tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to take advantage. I'm going to give you that.
You're going to give me another top kit, aren't you?
This top kit over here.
Take advantage.
Take that. I'm taking advantage.
Why wouldn't you?
I never had a gilly. Or a tutor. Well, I have. I've had lots of tutors in my life.
Did you listen to them?
Some of them be amazing. My dad, granddad.
Oh, I'd listen to Ernie and all.
Tommy Pickering.
Yeah, he's been a good one.
Alan Scott on.
Yeah, good.
He's not bad, is he? Roy Truman, although they were more life lessons than they were. Although he taught me, because he fished left-handed, so I couldn't fish like him anyway. He got his arms sewn up the wrong way around. Wow, you're testing me now, aren't you? Because if I'd been out on the town last night and I would still got the didders from, you won't be able to hold this rig because it's such a short lash. Yeah, there's fish there.
No, they're there. They are really shallow. That's where they are.
Interesting. Yeah. So there are people who I'm fully aware are amazing at fishing like this and catching massive weights. The lads who fish at Springvale, I know Eric were telling us they had 80 odd pound one his section here yesterday. He's mastered these, but of course we could probably film Eric and he could show us how he does it.
There's a few little things as well to consider.
But it's the learning process, isn't it?
I'll tell you what can be really good for hide shallow as well. A really big hook.
Interesting, I've just popped a 16 on.
Yeah.
I tell you what I feel like. I always feel like you need a fine hook, and I'm not sure if...
That's what I was about to say. Something that maybe an F1, B911 F1, but in a 14.
Okay.
Oh, look at that, look.
I'll get that out, I'm good at that. Tell me about the
just sometimes I think that it just makes it harder for them to spit it out without and more chance of it hooking.
Experienced at getting tangles out, mate.
But you've got that nice 018 line on though, and that helps, that does. Yeah, look at that.
Yeah.
Carp that, innit?
Yeah, yeah. I'm going to take advantage of that fish and just feed while it's swimming round.
That elastic looks well, doesn't it?
It's perfect.
The orange.
It's not what they call it, is it? It's not been too bouncy and put pole out my hands. It's funny, I think everybody wants to fish strong elastic for catching big weights, and I've noticed that I know you like your pink and stuff, but I've seen a lot of lads who, Phil Canning loves our black and catches massive weights on it, and he's more happy, especially in open water.
Yeah, I mean Andy Power there's no one more successful than him, is there?
No.
And he uses, considering the weights he catches, relatively light elastic.
I'm just going to feed while I've got the time.
It's just horses for courses, isn't it? Again.
Yeah.
I say that a lot, but it's true.
Yeah, you don't...
Decent fish, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so, yeah. Amassing big weights isn't all about brute force, is it? It's about actually just efficiency and catching fish, and he's not happy at all, isn't he?
A lot of bubbles coming up. Forget to keep a few maggots going in.
Yes, Gaffer. This is where I let go elastic. There you go, look.
And so it swims under your platform.
Has he got multitasking? Well, let me tell you something about Shelt Hill.
This is the best thing I've ever heard, by the way.
Got you.
There's no platform legs, is there?
There's no platform legs. I'm on a suspended floor here.
You're floating.
It's a shelf. I'm like the elf on the shelf. So there's no underneath me, which, me being like a skinny little runt, it's a nobody ever. It's quite helpful. So Joe, I'm going to have to confess, it wasn't in the mouth. Which is why we're going a bit scatty, I think. Because they are super shallow, aren't they?
Very, very shallow. And these are them carp that like mooch around gobbing. It's funny I say these are them carp. You see them on a lot of venues, like Like
just the smaller,
gobbing around,
younger,
young hungry fish. They're sort of just in your peg. They're a bit funny. That's it.
They're a bit more
little listy. That's it.
A bit more erratic.
I've got to be honest. I think that's what's making these eyes so difficult to catch. Them carp.
Well, we did see some.
I mean, look, there's a carp in your peg again now.
Yeah, yeah. When we weren't fishing it, I felt there were carp swimming in his loose feed.
Yeah.
This is interesting, yeah.
Yeah, no, it's frustrating actually. Right. That was a nice feed. I'm impressed with that. That was a carp again, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah,
not in mouth. I don't. Was it in mouth? That? What do you think?
I'm not sure. It came straight off, didn't it? But
yeah,
I feel like they've kind of moved the old hide on at the minute.
So that's interesting because, of course, I'm rubbish at this. That's what I was thinking. Well, I am rubbish at it, but what I mean is that because we weren't catching properly, I'm like, oh God, this is.
Yeah, what am I doing wrong?
Yeah. Joe would be brilliant at this. Get him on box. Viewers don't want to watch this, but of course, you're then going, not quite right. These. Excuse me.
They're the ones who want that. Look at that. That's
obviously, yeah, it makes me feel a bit better, but ultimately, it's knowing. And I think there's a lot of, we did that coaching day, didn't we? He's a good fish. We did that coaching day recently, and I think one thing that I got feedback, you were fishing and the guys that came to our coaching day were, it didn't go to plan at the beginning. You weren't bagging from the off. And they were all like, I'd have just changed now because I'm not doing it right, And you just, no, I just got to work through it. And I think it's the confidence, which when you've done a lot of fishing or you've done a certain type of fishing a lot, like you have with these, you're like, no, it's just not right.
I was trying to think about it quite a lot. See, them carp have gone and you're catching hide again.
Yeah.
But I was trying to think about it quite logically. And we're in the middle of the day now. As you mentioned, it is baking hot.
Yeah.
So what are your best options to actually catch some fish here now? Margins, yeah, potentially, but in my mind it's still a little bit too early. That method would, you'd probably just stuck with that, wouldn't you?
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
But say if we haven't got that option in the method or it's not going so well there, what else are you going to do? So this is your best option and you've kind of just got to work with what you've got a little bit.
Yeah.
It's no point now thinking, oh, I'll go on the bottom or I'll change to meat, or you kind of got to work through it and eventually it'll come together. Yeah. Because chances are if it's difficult fishing like this, it's going to be difficult fishing on the bottom, it's going to be difficult fishing in the edge. It's just that time of day where the fishing is hard.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you're searching for that magic answer sometimes that isn't actually there. It's just the fish are having that moment, that hour where we all experience it in the middle of the match or whatever, where it just goes a bit iffy. And then you start catching again in another hour's time. So I always think it's...
Why is it fizzing so much?
It's just fish rooting on the bottom. I don't think... It always looks more dramatic than it is that. Like you think, oh, there's millions of fish on the bottom. I never think there's that many down there.
Right, okay.
I don't think it takes a lot of fish. Like, when you were playing that carp, you could see where it's flanking the bottom and a big patch of bubbles will come up, one fish.
It's only got to touch the bottom.
Yeah, exactly. So I just think it's more dramatic than... It looks worse than it actually is. Let's go on that jigger again, Mick. I've changed that elastic over for you.
Okay. Yeah, because although that were
a lovely little spell.
So it's funny, it's just gone, I can tell...
Same carp, innit?
I can tell there's something amiss. You can just tell I've got nervous water, Rich.
Nervous water. Rich Wilson will be proud of you.
Yeah. It's funny, there's not as many carp sort of swimming, because I've just seen one, that's what's reminded me. Like earlier when we were fishing feeder, there were a lot of carp at my feet, swimming round. Just going to clip that up there. Bright sunshine like this, you don't really want your elastic all stretched like I have.
No, I did a little video about re-elasticating your pole the other day, and I mentioned that like UV, no matter what elastic you use, is the killer, isn't it?
Oh God, yeah. Well, I tell you what doesn't help. This is a true story. I did a physical test and I put some of our elastic on.
Feed now, Mick.
On fence at work outside, and I hung some. Got a length. I hung it over the fence, as in got it like a steel fence, and then I got some and I stretched it, as in I made it tight on fence, and the stuff that were tight were rotten in about a tenth of the time that it took for the sun to kill the one that wasn't, and it were basically the tension and the sunshine
just
was the killer.
Yeah, I think as convenient as it is to leave your rigs on your top kits, it's the reason why people moan about elastics going, isn't it?
Yeah, that's a bit smoother, that.
See, I think that suits you, doesn't
Yeah,
it?
yeah, probably, yeah.
Like that's a bit to lazy. Me. You like look
a bit more comfortable.
I think you're going to bag up with that. There's a reason why the jig is so effective and popular, because it catches so many fish.
Yeah.
It's all well and good trying to be Andy Bennett fishing with these tiny little rigs and whatnot, but sometimes it's not as easy as that, is it?
No, I think it's different types of fishing suit different types of people, don't they? And you have to find your way, don't you?
This might help with a little bit of ripple.
Yeah, I can feel that. It's nice. I think it's probably important to feed at the right time before you chuck out, and not so get your rig almost in place, feed and then drop your rig in.
Yeah.
But that goes for any kind of shallow fishing, doesn't it?
Ooh. Yeah, I do a lot of slop shallow fishing, fresh ones in the summer, and there's always every match is different, and there's always the perfect time to throw your slop in before you ship out. It's funny. Sometimes they want it hitting the water and your rig's got to be in amongst it that second. Other times it's best to throw it and just wait 10 seconds and then go out. Yeah. It's funny how it works. I mean, that's nice now, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, I tell you what you feel like. I feel like I'm getting more.
Oh, look at that one.
More casts. Whereas when you've got your shallow rig.
Oh, mate. Them's them.
That's one of Eric's fish, isn't it?
Them's them. I think that's have a nice little drinks break now. Look at that.
I think that's perfect. That jigger seems to be working a treat.
So let's crack on with that, and then we'll come back when you've cracked it.
Brilliant.
But that looks great. Little jigger. And that elastic, scaling down that elastic's what.
Oh no, that's massive.
Yeah.
Massive. Yeah, I'm gasping. Let's have a drink. That last one were a carp.
Yeah.
And it's funny, there's different fish have come in. I just had another big-eyed.
And they are big-eyed and all, aren't they?
Yeah, and they are super shallow. I picked up this modified rig, well, your modified rig, which has made a massive difference. It's really interesting that there's no easy solution, I'm saying, Joe. Tell everybody your experienced opinion on what's going off here, because I'm going to try and explain it, and I'm not the one to explain it.
There's a few things at play here. A, we've got bright sun and red hot, so that's obviously making things a little bit trickier, but there's plenty of fish there. We've got them lovely carp sort of muscling in, which I think are putting the eyed on edge, but what is actually happening, the eyed are really shallow, and I'm not talking them little ones, the big 2 to 3 pound fish that we all love catching are like, I reckon they're like 6 inches deep. And you've gone down there, probably fishing a foot deep now. Yeah. And even that's probably a touch too deep for them real big fish.
Yeah.
And what's happening is, and it used to happen at Western Pools when I used to go there, and you fire your maggots in, and what actually happens is 1 or 2 of them big eyes sit really shallow and eat all your bait. So there's actually no bait in your swim, we used to be fishing maggots on the bottom, and when you get like one swirl in your peg, you'd stop catching. And it was Benny who told me about it. He says, oh, it's like 1 or 2 of them really big eyed, they're eating all your bait, you've got to go out, catch it, and then forget about it. Go back on bottom.
Right.
And I think you're better off persevering super shallow, personally.
Got you.
And catching those big fish because they're there, but they seem to be coming in waves as well. I've noticed that. Like, it doesn't look like there's any there at the minute.
This second, no, you can tell when there's fish in your peg. You get movement on water, and I noticed if I can. That's a little one. If I can drop me loose feed short of me float, that seems to be better.
Yeah. I always
I've
feel
seen you
like
do that.
Yeah, I always feel like if you can feed, I don't know, a metre short, so that in theory your hook bait's always the furthest one out. I always feel like that's a good thing to try and do. It's easier said than done, but
yeah.
In theory.
But so you're not. What you're saying is, which is what I'm trying to work out as me as an angler.
There's no set pattern to this.
Because I'm getting inconsistent. You know, it's not I go out and catch a carp, go out and catch a carp, go out and catch a carp, or an eyed, or a big eyed. And I had.
That was nice.
Yeah, and I had my line nice and tight there. I've noticed that's really important to keep
tight.
Just try and keep it tight.
Yeah, it's so important. I think
this elastic's better that you swapped over for me.
Yeah, it looks performing nicely, that, isn't it? Well, that's the 8 to 10, isn't it?
A little bit more user friendly, isn't it?
I think it's so easy, like, and that is the one downfall with fishing videos and magazine features and stuff. You know, we'll say, oh, this is how you fish shallow. You set your rig 10 inches deep, and out you go. But what it doesn't take into account is this, where every chuck's different today, isn't it? It's fair to say, isn't it? Sometimes there's carp there, sometimes there's eyed there, sometimes there's big eyed in your pegs that are 3 inches deep.
Yeah.
Then they're not there. So, like, you have to make a change every 5 or 10 minutes today. Whereas in a normal fishing video, you'd be like, no, just do this and catch loads. Right, see you later. Thanks
but that's not...
Everybody subscribe, see you later.
yeah, that's not what we're trying to achieve, is it? Because massive thing for me, this, is that obviously I know you as a person, I know you as an angler, and I've got the confidence that you're going to tell me as it is. If it's not right, you'll go, you're not right, you need to be shallow, you need to be deeper, you need to be this, you need to be that, you need to be the other. And you're like, not, and you're rumming and hiding, which is telling me, I'm not necessarily doing it that bad. Yeah, I'm not doing it great, I can tell that, because I'm not as fluid, but I'm getting into the swing of it.
You are, yeah.
And yeah, just a bit short, so majority of my maggots are this side of my floor, and there's a fish.
That's an eyed, that is.
Yeah, they're different swells, aren't they?
They're them big eyed, them.
And and that's come right into that loose feed.
Yeah, I reckon they're like, you need your float on your bulk when they're in your peg like that.
Yeah.
And by that I mean sort of, 5 to 6 inches deep.
Yeah. And I mean, look at that, we're holding that out of water. We're actually...
Carp though, isn't it?
Yeah, holding my rig tight.
But I mean, this is just brilliant fishing, isn't it?
It's perfect.
I love fishing maggots short shallow. I think it's such a nice way to fish.
Yeah, it's a lot more user friendly, that softer elastic.
Tell you what I have noticed as well, Mick. We're starting to get some visitors in the edge and you haven't even fed it yet.
And that's time of day. That's becoming a thing where I've realised that I've pulled my elastic on me, pull a bit, then let it go and thinking and it nearly got top side of me. That's a different type of...
That's a lovely little carp, isn't it?
Yeah. He's got broad shoulders, him.
I'll tell you what.
He's a different fish.
We mentioned it off camera. Net limits would be a thing here, wouldn't they? Because one minute you're catching a lovely little eye, then you're catching a big eye, then you're catching a carp.
Well, some of them eyed, you're like, well, that's a big one. But is it £2? Is it £1.4? Is it £2.4?
Very difficult.
I mean, that carp with £3 maybe.
What? I mean, considering neither of us had heard of this venue until a few weeks ago, what a place.
It's stunning, isn't it?
Yeah. Fishing's fantastic. I wish more fisheries had put eyed in, if I'm honest. They're great fish, aren't they?
Tell you what I like about it is that...
So I want more eyed in rivers and I want more eyed in lakes.
You just want more eyed?
More eyed.
Yeah. Yeah, you can see them funny swells. They're the eyed, like you were saying out there.
And this is where, if you did have a couple of rigs up, it'd benefit, because you could whiz back now, put a different rig on.
Yeah.
Quickly go out and catch them big Dorises and then...
Yeah, Dorises.
And then and then get back on with going a little bit deeper.
This short line is
There's an art to that.
Effective, but I'll tell you what, it won't be for everybody, I don't think. You've kind of got to get everything set perfect. Your knees need to be at right height so that you can hold your pole with the right amount of line out at water and pick your catty up. And. But
I'll tell you what though, I've seen some really good shallow anglers who've made it work for them with a pole vest.
Really?
And having it just set so that they've got a tight line. You know, it does take a bit of adjusting your front rest.
Yeah.
And then you just get it so you've got a tight line, and they can make it work for them.
That makes sense, yeah.
Yeah, it can work really nicely. That. But like that jigger, I mean.
Yeah. I think that's effective, but same again. That's not as simple as just setting one up or having it on a long rig and just lifting it and lowering it. We worked that out, didn't we? Because the jigger were good to fish, for instance, today between that 4 and 10 inches, which is his up length down.
Right, just do me a favour, Mick. Feed like, twice now.
But not as many, or same amount, or
just the same amount. Try and like.
Tell me what that is.
I think it's a timing thing, and I think that it's the perfect time. By the time you get out there, they're like ready for it.
I see.
Because
one pouch is not enough to hold them.
I think with shallow fishing, sometimes the better. Oh, look at that swift! And they took your.
Didn't it? I heard him coming.
Sometimes your pole not being in the swim is time well spent, and sometimes you just take a little bit longer, feed, then whip out. You often like get a quick fish. It hasn't worked this time though. Talking nonsense.
No, I get it, and that's something I'm.
You know, like when you're fishing on a river and you get into a routine of loose feeding, putting your float in, or
of course you do.
It's all about trying to match everything up, isn't it?
Yeah, there's a time when you need to have slack line and a time when you need to have it tight, and I'm feeding too far there. Keeping that tight.
Yeah, this we mentioned, didn't we, earlier about fishing the right distance, and for me, being more comfortable, I'd be maybe looking at a section further.
Yeah.
But I tell you what, mate.
To make life easy for you for cattying, so don't necessarily just go. You fish at top 2 and 3. If your natural comfort zone is top 2 and 4, fish at top 2 and 4. That's for using a catapult, isn't it?
Yeah. Make it easy.
Yeah, because I think naturally everybody wants to do this, don't they? They all want to just do that and fish with a top kit. Well, if you can catch fish like that, that's great, isn't it? But if efficiency is more important.
What was that?
That was.
Did that spit out a load of stuff?
It did, yeah. I don't know what it is.
I'll tell you what, mate.
And I'm sure you could catch fish like that. It's a carp.
Have you seen these here?
Is it time?
I'll tell you what. It could be time,
I can't wait to find out whether
you've got maggots all over your face, you know.
I know, I love them. Full of protein, apparently. Amino acids. Are you still thinking hard pellets?
I am. I'm thinking we'll make a start with hard pellets in that 18 inches, and let's just play it by ear. Because I don't think normally with your micros and your ground bait, you're using that to attract the fish. You know, it's it's something that really gets them revved up. But the fish are here without us even putting a bean of bait in.
Got you.
So we need to control them rather than.
Because we're trying to catch them, not attract them. Same thing again.
So I think.
Let's get a whirl.
Let's give it a whirl with hard pellets to start with.
Brilliant. Are we hard pellet on the hook?
Yep.
Right. Okay. Great stuff.
Keep it nice and simple with a little kinder pot, and let's just see if we can make that work.
Get set up.
Are we edging?
Your favourite bit?
My favourite bit. I was enjoying that hide fishing though.
No, I was enjoying it because it was really interesting, very technical.
This is going to be just as technical, for a totally different reason.
Do you think so? Because of course, I always think when you're ready to go out edge, it's just going to be bagging up time.
And it may well be, yeah.
So I've got mid-height blow on, 0.4.
Yep.
A few 6 mils.
Yep.
Yep.
Just a little, just drop them in from a little bit of height and then lay it in. That's it. Now,
probably need a back shot on here, don't I?
Yeah, let's just go with it for now. Now let's just see what I would, to start with, just go in with like 4 pellets.
So I've already put 8
just to start. It'd be fine because obviously they're feeding, but
yeah, because this is what I struggle with, because good out marge, I need to feed a load of bait, gather them and bring them in.
This is one of them fisheries where it's not like that. It's not.
I mean,
it's not a big lake. It's not.
I've just taken them pellets in there.
They're on it, aren't they?
That is
legitimately, by the way, everyone. That is the first bit of bait he's fed there.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
And they're in it already.
I know you said you'd seen a few, and it was time. I hope that was around my float, that, and I've managed to hook it.
But this is the timing thing, isn't it?
When they're ready to come into edge, and I think you said it on the last one, but just remind everybody that what I think is fantastic. I'm going to put a few pellets in my pot, but should I?
No, I'd feed it again. I'd feed it again.
Oh, would you?
Yeah.
What, 4 or 5?
Yeah.
Frugal feeding.
The time of day is everything with the edge. I mean, they're in, aren't they? So that's it. Flick that.
I know that they know that we've dropped some bait in, don't they?
Mm-hmm. And it may be that we have to change and put different bait in, and maybe come into the shallow water. Maybe you can catch them up there, but let's just see how we get on with this first.
No, that's what we're here for. And I'd have struggled here because I'd have been trying to find. I'd have been. No, I tell you what would have happened. I'd have plumbed up and I'd have been lost, because I'm hoping I've got 2 foot tight to grass,
and it's not.
And
there.
I might have then wanted to fish a long pole down to the next pallet, or look at that. That's on them pellets, isn't it? And I can see one's tail. What's really funny is that's just gone over one's back. They're on the inside, the shallow side of my bait, aren't they?
This is what I mean. This is when I said this could be just as technical. It could be, because when they're like this, they're really hard to catch.
Yeah. Oh, there's fish there. I mean, that looked like it hit my line and spooked off, and a great vortex behind it. Yeah, I can see why you didn't want to feed too much bait, because they're already going balmy just for them.
And for you.
What must only be 12 to 15 pellets that we've introduced already. But I ain't had what I would call a clean bite.
You haven't had a bite yet. No. Right, so I'd come back in. I'd literally put like 2 pellets in, mate.
Okay.
And I know that's hard to do, but
Can I put 3 in?
If you want.
No, I'm going to put 2 in. I dropped one, so you're lucky. I'd have finished it with 3. That seems ridiculous.
And drop them in just from a little bit more of a height.
Come on, talk to me. Tell me what.
I don't think you're getting like attraction without actually feeding hardly anything. So they're gonna come to them, and there's actually no bait there, basically.
Right.
There you go.
You clever sod. Right, because
we're trying to control the fish. So with hard pellets, I always say you get a lot of bang for your buck. You get a lot of attraction because of the noise.
Yeah.
And then there's no bait on the bottom, so you actually get a clean bite. And that's exactly what happened there.
As opposed to
whereas if you put 30 hard pellets on the bottom, you're just making it harder for them to pick your hook bait out.
Got you.
And we're not needing to pile bait in to attract the fish, because look, they're ready to come in anyway.
Now, is that based on the size of the fish, or
it's the type of lake we're on, and it's the type of lake we're on, and it's the amount of fish that's in here and the size of fish. If you're fishing Hallcroft, I'm just using that as an example.
Yeah,
big lake.
I know that place. Yeah.
Moat's got, I don't know how many pegs. Well over 100 odd pegs. It's a big lake. The fish are out in the lake. You've got to pull them into the edge. So you need to feed volumes of bait that get them in. Whereas here, you're on a snake lake. You're on top of the fish. They just naturally come in anyway. So it's not the same as needing to put loads of bait in. It's just not the same thing.
Get it?
If you're at Larford, for instance, you need to pull them in. They don't naturally want to come in. Whereas here...
Yeah, because they've got somewhere else to be.
Yeah, exactly. Whereas here, they're in here anyway. I've caught so many fish over the years feeding like this.
Yeah, because I tell you what, massive thing for me this, because you're catching them, and I'm trying to get my swim full of carp before I catch them, and you're like, no, they're there anyway, and that is the opposite mentality from somebody who's experienced with commercial fishing. Could see that with a bite, completely different.
So this is this is kind of what I was getting at with the bait choice, because if we put ground bait in,
which
we would get a swim full of fish, full of them, because I can just tell that they're so responsive to bait here. It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
But it might be a nightmare to catch them. And it can look pretty, but then you look at your clock and 20 minutes has gone by and you've hooked one and fouled up 3, and but you've got a swim full of fish and it looks great. Whereas you fish like this, it's a little bit slower. It doesn't look as pretty, but you've had 2 in as quick as you could do it.
Yeah.
And it was a big lesson for me that last year, and I've caught so many fish doing this. But again, it's all about venue choice.
Yeah.
What's happened here, Mick?
I've just ripped my band off, and I don't know how that's happened because I've got a lovely hairnet. It went like that. We're kind of when I pulled the hook out the fish's mouth.
But yeah, I've got
parted.
These fisheries that've got these 2 to sort of 4 pound carp in. It doesn't look pretty. It doesn't look fancy, potting in 2 or 3 pellets, but it is often.
Yeah, and you're
lovely way to fish.
You've not got a million fish climbing up bank, right. But what you are doing is you put them in your net.
Yeah, your float's going under and it's in the mouth. You've not fouled up one yet. And it might be that we have to change.
Yeah.
But I mean, they're swirling over where you've put 2 pellets in.
Which is crazy.
I think they know they're there long after they've been eaten. I do personally. Whatever's in the pellets hangs around.
They can smell it. The sense that there's some bait there. Yeah, because them pellets haven't broken down or anything, so it's not like ground bait.
They must have gone by now, wouldn't they?
But you'd have thought that something would have eaten them by now, wouldn't you?
I'm going to start doing that. What you're doing?
What's that?
Time your hook length's long.
Well, because I don't have as much time as I like, despite everybody thinking they're just go fishing every week, I don't. I do have a business to run and I do have my own fishing to do. For me, I tell you who put me on it by accident were Andy Geldart.
Yeah, he always
has done Andy Geldart.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm not saying he's lazy, but he's also a guy that don't waste his time.
No, he's got a busy life, family life.
And I think he did it on tight lines with Keith Arthur, and I think it was his top tip were, well, I fish 18-inch hook lengths on a bomb and a pellet waggler quite often, and it's the same hook tied to the same line as I would use on a pole rig, so why not tie them all to 18 inches, and then if I want a 10-inch one, or a 12-inch one, or a 4-inch one, or a 3-inch one, just bite them down to that. And I suppose in a match you would say that if you were in a fish race with somebody else, then maybe that wouldn't save as much time.
Yeah, but I always think like if you have them all like that, and then you do think, well, I'm going to Tunnel Barn on Sunday, I need them all 4 inch, so you could pre-shorten them, couldn't you?
You could, yeah.
Good idea.
I've done that for my natural, sort of long hook lengths, which are tied to a metre. And that, with my rig that I do, that allows me to fish up to 1.25 metres. And if I know that if we've been practicing somewhere and come the weekend, or we've got a few days practice and I know it's a short hook length, I'll strip enough back to fish a match, like you said, and wind them onto a separate spool, and because I need to feed it, don't I? Yeah. Even I've learned you can't just sit there waiting for one.
Just that little maximum impact, drop from a little height.
Yeah, that's important.
Seems to be.
So even though we're feeding nearly 1.5 metres away from bank, there's still one. I don't know if it's the tails that are swirling towards back. because they've got their heads on where we're feeding, but they certainly want to come inside.
Make the fish want to be in the shallow water.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
that's just how they want to be, but it's actually catching them there that could be the problem.
Yeah. Well, we've certainly had a good start on it, and as you said, they're reactive, probably too reactive, and by feeding less particles, which is these pellets, nice little pot with a lid on just helps me to, because I tell you what, you do realise that you're not as fluid as you should be, smooth, and them little lids just help you to stop it bouncing.
They're invaluable, aren't they?
Yeah.
There we go.
That were lovely, bar.
That were right. That were nice, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Well, he's going for it, isn't he?
Yeah, he's interesting.
That black's nice, Mick.
He's perfect.
Seems about right for
that's
these
the
fish,
strongest elastic we've used today. I'm just going to swing my feet around that way. This is, I know Sam Collett and Phil Canning use this all the time. They have some colossal weights.
No, it's dealing with them perfect.
Yeah, he just got on top of that fish, didn't it? Perfectly.
Because me being me, I'm thinking, right, get the pink on. But actually,
Yeah,
that black's dealing them.
Well, a bit like earlier when we were fishing shallow. If you're in shallower water and the fish aren't so big, do you think you get less commotion with a slightly softer elastic?
Have you noticed something? All three of the fish that we've caught have come really quick.
Massively.
So I think it pays to, if you're disciplined enough, put 10 pellets in your pot and feed them over a couple of goes.
Got you.
And lift in.
Yeah.
But I'm not. So I prefer to actually just quickly whiz back and put 2 more pellets in and then go back out again. Otherwise it's...
because if you could control yourself and just rattle 3 out.
If you're good like some people are, you can... I can't do that. I end up tapping the whole 10 in or whatever.
Well, it's funny because when I fish soft pellet in winter, I'm just going to tap them in as high as I can.
That's it.
I've squeezed a few because I know that you get a reaction from fish, your pellets falling through water, skimmers especially, your soft pellet in. Squeeze a few in fairly hard, then squeeze a few in soft, and I tap out the first half, and then if I don't get a bite and have to lift, rather than having to come back in, I've doused my cup underwater, just let it soften, and then just tap them, and the bottom sort of half, they come out, and you've managed to feed twice without having to come back. And
see, I know it looks slow, but you've caught 4 fish in no time.
Progressive and efficient.
And I think you're not foul.
No. It's
just efficient, isn't it?
Yeah.
And I just think, like, if we would have chosen to go down the micros route, which I think what we should do, mate.
Yeah.
Catch 2 more on this, and let's try almost ruin it.
Yeah.
And just show, hopefully, the difference. It may be that doing it that way might catch us loads of fish. But until you break it, you can't really.
No.
You can't really.
No.
Because like how you're fishing now, if we just carried on doing it, you just catch one every chuck in.
Yeah, I think you're right.
So we might as well try and
let's do it now.
Show the opposite end of the scale, haven't we?
Yeah. So just using the same pot, or?
Yeah, why don't you big pot it? Like what you would do.
Yeah. Brilliant.
And put maybe some ground bait in and... But that's what I love about fishing, like that there. I mean, it cannot get simpler than what you've just done there, can you?
No.
Yeah, there's them little tweaks, like dropping your pellets in from a little bit of a height.
It was just wet ground bait back here.
And doing all that business.
In fact, I'm going to
put some deads in.
Put a few deads, because that's what we did last time. Yep. So that's just me, because that's what it were either micros and...
I can't wait to see all the tails here now.
But here's a quarter of a pot of deads. And the rest is ground bait.
They're going to be on that.
It's gone down.
I bet you enjoyed that edge fishing at the Glebe, didn't you?
It were. I tell you what, it were really efficient, and
big fish. And
yeah, big fish.
look at that. Look. He's on his trail.
Yeah. They are on it, aren't they?
They're on it immediately. These are
That looks sharp.
hungry fish. Bunch of maggots?
Yeah.
Nice. I think what'll happen, I think we might get a nice start, and then it could go all a bit chaotic.
Yeah, well, it's into, I can see.
Totally different.
It looks like there's twice as many fish.
Yeah, totally different.
And that looks great. I've got all them fish down there.
I mean, like I say, I think you'll catch.
No, we'll catch them.
I think you'll catch them.
But if we keep feeding it that way, you've a chance of foul hooking more, I think, because certainly more aggressively active.
They just love the ground bait, don't they? They can't help it. It's a bit like what happened over there. They go.
That's why they love pay so much. Yeah, that hadn't happened, did it? So I've just lifted up and 3 fish have scattered.
Look at them. They're everywhere.
Yeah, yeah. So now all of a sudden, that ground bait's everywhere in it, and the maggots.
Here we go. You might get one in a sec.
Fish everywhere.
It looks great, doesn't it?
Oh no. Visual effect, 10 out of 10.
And then what we'll do next, we'll try and catch one like this. Then we'll try and come up into the shallow water where I know the people on camera will be like, well, we'll just go into shallower water because that's what we've been told on video. So we'll try that next. You'd have had one by now on our pellets.
Yeah. I've had 2 liners. And
do you know what you would catch them on, Mick?
The peg's gone chocolate. Go on.
Paste.
Oh, you couldn't help it, could you?
Hey.
I actually saw that as I lifted and dropped it. Yeah, it did. Yeah. But there's fish.
Look how many fish
tailing up and different story.
Beautiful.
No, that looks really effective.
Oh, it is, isn't it? You're still going to catch loads of fish.
It looks a bit chaotic, doesn't it? Oh, brilliant though. Interesting, because that's different approaches. And now, would you say that you could reverse it as well? Because if you'd...
No.
Oh, because once you've got that ground bait...
You'd have to either go fish like maybe short or down either side and start again.
A clean spot.
A clean spot. My natural lean is to do this. Do you know what I mean? This is how I want to fish. Like get loads of fish in my peg and catch them. But look, I mean, Mick, wait till you turn round.
Oh yeah. Yeah, every fish in plate's there, isn't it?
Few about. That's unbelievable.
Oh my life.
That
didn't happen with hard pellet, did it?
I don't think we're going to be struggling. Look at them beauties.
I'll tell you what, there is a lot of little spiders in here today.
Yeah.
Well, because they're cutting air in fields.
How do they get across here?
On the old wind.
Amazing, isn't it?
I think they spin a bit of a web.
And off they go.
Use it as a bit of a sail.
And end up in my fireplace in about October.
Yeah.
That big.
Well, I believe it's an old wives' tale. Horse chestnuts.
Yeah, I've got them in my house. It didn't seem to...
Yeah, they love them. They climb straight up at top of them.
Yeah, but they look pretty funny.
Yeah, and everybody goes, what you got conkers on your doorstep for? Oh, because it keeps spiders away. You got any spiders? Yeah, tons of them.
Look at
Right, so now then, this fish from my float tip right back to my side tray, because I reckon that all that ground bit's been wafted along. Missed bites everywhere.
Yeah, there's fish by my feet all the way along that bank.
Yeah.
I actually think your best chance of getting one is what happened before. That few seconds as you're lowering your rig in.
Yeah.
As they're seeing it. Because it's chocolate down there, isn't it?
Is it? Yeah, I like that one.
That's not in mouth, is it?
No. Look at what we've done to us, Peg.
It was lovely before, wasn't it? You know, like you talked to me about.
Fantastic, that.
You talked to me about Southfield. How you believe that a calm, quiet peg's really important for the bream.
Yeah, yeah, because
to catch them.
Yeah, because they get settled and relaxed, and the best way to catch one is not to fish it and then to go in and first cast onto a bed of bait, because I think them fish, oh, it's gone crackers, isn't it? Well, see, that's what have happened to me, and I've been like, I didn't know how to catch them.
Yeah. I mean, like I say, what we'll do now, we will go up into the shallows and see what we can do. There'll be a sweet spot.
Yeah, but we were catching fish, weren't we?
Yeah.
And now we're feeding them.
And now
that's all we're doing.
I'll tell you what we're doing, carp watching at the minute.
Yeah.
Because we can see some lovely carp.
How to ruin your peg in one pot. I mean, look at that. We've had liners, and we're lucky we haven't fell up to load.
Now that'll come next when we go in shallow water.
And that is experience of yours, because this morning, before we'd even fished it, you went, I know what I need here. And who'd have known that? Not me.
No, it's just like it's experience, isn't it? It's just the same as...
Yeah, of course it is.
It's like you, when you're fishing ferry or wherever, you're like, I'm getting liners now, I know what I need to do.
Yeah, you need to calm your peg down or whatever. Yeah, not it, man.
It's not the same, is it? Right, let's pop this plummet on. I'm just going to adjust the camera. Let's pop plummet on and let's see if we can make it happen in this shallow water.
Right, Joe, so you've got me.
We're going into shallow water.
Because we want to prove or disprove the theory?
Yeah, just, it's clear, isn't it? If you want to fish ground bait and maggots here, that 18 inches is just too deep to start with, isn't it? We're just not...
I've heard you say that before about...
and these fish are not shy.
No.
So the only way we're going to make that bait work is to go in shallower water. But again, it might be tricky, it might be the answer. Let's see. It's the only way we're going to make it work. I mean, you just carried on with them pellets, wouldn't you? In hindsight.
Yeah, dead efficient. Just remember, they need to be just there.
Oh.
Let me remember where I need to feed. Right off the edge of that pallet there.
That's it. That was nice.
Yeah, I remembered. I'm not tapping it out. That's ugly. Now the bait's in shallower water.
Yeah.
They're even more.
I can see maggots up here.
Can you?
You haven't even put them in anywhere, have you?
No.
There's a million fish.
Yep. Brilliant. And there's ground bait and maggots everywhere.
Everywhere. You're going to get one in a minute. There's one right on your bait. Yeah. You're seeing?
I've never seen it like that. And yet there were none of that going off, were there, when we had pellets?
And this is exactly what I was saying. Like, it don't look as good. It don't look as pretty. You think, oh, I'm not pulling any fishing, but you were coming back with one every couple of minutes.
So all them fish, they look with their heads all up bank. They're all eating the spilled ground bait and maggots.
Yeah. The only way you're going to catch these, Mick, is to literally put your float on the bank and have your hook bait in this shallow water and let them come and suck it and hide your pole tip. I think that's the only way we're going to do this.
Or don't put ground bait and maggots
carry on
in.
with your hard pellets. And it looks ridiculous what I'm about to tell you to do. Put your float up on the bank.
Yeah, because my
your natural fishing won't let you allow you to do this.
This is toy town.
There you go.
Stuff. Yeah.
So that's the only way we're going to catch these.
I see. Yeah, which you wouldn't do that in a million years. Brilliant.
Well, you would.
How not to do it? No, you'd just fish hard pellets.
You just fish hard pellets. Yeah, you just plod on.
Yeah, because they can't. They're that frantically.
You know, like you genuinely think you couldn't fail when it's like this, wouldn't you? But it's not as easy as that.
No.
You're going to get one in a sec, though. No, you're not. Any fish about?
A few, isn't there? How not to do it?
Perfect demonstration.
Yeah, brilliant. So you think that peg is now ruined, and it would take a long time to...
Yeah, you'd never get this back
now. Get it back to where it needs to be. You'd have to go up there and fish up there.
You'd have to go down that side. Or even, maybe you could probably do it around here, Mick, to be fair.
Yeah.
You could probably fish your hard pellets down here.
Yeah.
And get a decent response. Interesting. I mean, now your pole's not there, they're going to go loopy.
Yeah. But the chasing, like you said, there's maggots and everything all over the place. I don't even throw them in. Maggots and groundbaits all up that side.
A lot of the venues I go to are like this, but Shrewsbury was a classic, and that's what led me to develop that pace method, because I used to have this happen to me week after week, and it was doing me head in, and I'm like, no, I can't cope with this.
Got you.
That's when I came up with the old pace job, because it does sort them out, but failing that hard pellet thing.
So rather than going to me right, I've just come
Sure.
as far away from the chaos. 3 pellets, and that were a definite bite.
Yeah.
Look at that, look, them fish just come straight to that noise.
This is the problem, you see. Once that ground bait's in.
Yeah, they can smell it, they can taste it, and all these fish have probably wafted it, even this far away, which is 2 joints this way of it.
Yeah, this is. I've spoken about it quite a few times. Like, love to leave a side clean.
That's foul looked.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So you just go to the other side.
Just go to the other side.
Yeah. Brilliant, but it's a brilliant lesson for me. That.
Because you just want to come and fish groundbait and maggots, don't you? I do.
Well, it
was amazing at the Glebe, wasn't it?
Such an effective edge method. Then you'd just presume that it'd be right for everywhere.
And it is. The fish love it. Look at them.
Yeah.
But again, it's actually been able to catch them with the hard part, isn't it? Imagine if this is in the mouth. This could be like that bomb fish when you reeled in. Everyone loved that, by the way.
Yeah, crazy that one, isn't it?
This is the one good thing about the old black.
Well, he just allowed him to. It's actually bringing it back on its own. I've not done anything yet, have I? But I'm trying to be patient.
No chance that's in the mouth, you know, mate.
You think so? I think it could be under the chin or. Tried to net it with me feeder arm. Told you it were.
Top lip. So you've already caught one faster on just tapping 2 pellets in.
Well, it is in mouth as well. That has shocked me. And that's as big as fish, isn't it? That's probably why I thought it would foul up, because it weighed.
Took off.
And I'd only got a top kit on. No way of.
I think that's another thing as well. I mean, we mentioned it before about fishing short.
It's not just small carp in there, is it?
That's a cracker, isn't it? I'm gonna say that old catchphrase. Don't take many of them.
Yeah. So straight away, disproved and proved. Too smart you are, Carass. I've called you Carass because I'm not happy with you.
Why?
Carass. Well, for being too smart, too clever.
No, I'll tell you what it is. It's a misspent youth, mate.
Yeah. You've been doing this a long time, haven't you?
Unfortunately, time on the bank's everything, isn't it? And you can only get experience by doing it, can't you? Unfortunately.
Without a doubt. And we'd only just done the old 2 pellet trick.
Yep.
Far more effective than.
And I used to be like, as a younger.
Used to be like me.
I used to be like, I would have been
chasing rainbows.
Trying to make them work. I would have been like, I've got to suss this out. But as I've got older, a bit more considered, I'm like, I actually go away and think about the job now.
Yeah.
How can I put that right next time?
Sure, that would have a mouthed bite then. I mean, fishing so close to me.
Yeah, it's horrible, isn't it?
Yeah.
It feels alien, doesn't it?
Yeah.
But it is. Sometimes it's the right way to go about it.
Yeah. Well, we've come away. I think if you do it at distance, you've got a little bit less disturbance, haven't you? And but we've come here because it's a clean,
fresh start.
It's a fresh start. Yeah. You could see that with a bite, couldn't you?
Just like lovely little jab under.
Yeah. Is that when they're just sucking and blowing it?
It's got to be on it. And I think because your hook bait's got that bit of weight in it, like it shows up, doesn't it? Well, that's good, isn't it?
That's fantastic.
I love it when a plan comes together.
Once again, the master has put this old dog pupil absolutely spot on.
I mean, what a day's fishing we've had.
Oh,
what a chuck on everything.
Well, we've had to come off everything because it was too good. I've certainly learned a lot, and
I've learned plenty on that method as well.
Well, that were ever so good, weren't it?
That was nice.
The big thing about that was you had to move. That's not different to this,
is it? It's the same, isn't it? Because as soon as you got a lot of volume of bait over there, became a pain to catch, didn't they?
Yeah, they did. But the interesting one were the shallow. They're still fizzing on that where we were throwing the maggots, and it's been a while since we fished it, hasn't it?
Yeah. How hard is it for you to feed 2 pellets, Mick?
I'm going to say
as a man who likes to feed pouches of maggots and stuff.
You've got to condition yourself, haven't you?
Yeah.
You really have.
A little goes a long way with pellets.
Yeah, I've snuck an extra one in because I'm not doing 2. I've got to have 3.
But it's that big difference between.
No, it's the difference between feeding and catching.
You know,
and
3 or 4 pellets is totally different to a dozen or 20, isn't it?
You can't get snake charmed by. You can't get snake charmed by carp's tails, because that's what happens. Is you get mesmerised.
You do, yeah.
And you can sit there all day.
Oh, aye.
Yeah, I don't know what went off there. You can be sat there mesmerised by watching carp's tails and catch nothing, or you can find out how to do it and put fish in your net.
It's going to be mouthful, isn't it?
Yeah.
I'm itching to have a go.
Well, I've learnt enough. Well, I've learnt that much. If I try and learn any more, I'll not remember half of it. So I'm going to call it
this last one.
I don't know what it is. But I'd like to catch another one because I didn't think this one.
Yeah, that was like a bit of a cheat, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's in mouth that.
Yeah,
I was just holding
Have
it
you caught
tight,
3 since you've gone down there?
Yep. Yep.
Amazing, isn't it?
By doing it.
How we started.
The right way on the day. I'm calling it, because viewers, I definitely would have done it wrong from the start, because I wouldn't have done this. No way on this earth, because I thought feeding pellets down the edge was a no-no, because you're not gathering enough fish. But so can we say, Joe, that when there's a lot of fish and they are naturally want to be where you want to, not where you want to fish rather, but they naturally want to be in the shallow water,
yeah,
then don't gather them too much,
yep,
and just
control them,
and therefore catch them. Yeah,
control is key.
Yeah, because there's fish here.
Yeah.
You know, I can see a tail there, and
they want to eat pellets,
but there's not 20 fish here, and they're not spewing bait everywhere, and they're not. You know, I'm not getting all these daft liners and fish swirling. We're just actually catching them. Oh, that were in mouth. That came off. Convinced of it. Just by the type of the bite it were. You know what happened there? I fed 4 pellets.
You getting giddy?
I'm confessing.
Hi, I'm Mick and I'm a 4 pellet man.
I'm addicted to dropping pellets in.
Oh, you're on Matt, aren't you? No, you're not.
Oh no, now I foul up one.
Maybe. It's in mouth, that. It's good fish.
It's certainly a massive learning curve to me. I tell you what's going to happen, Joe. When we finish filming, I brought some maggots, and I'm going to spend a bit more time. It isn't mouth. I'm going to spend a bit more time fishing shallow.
Yeah.
To polish my skills, because
that's a big fish, that one.
Yeah, it's a good one. I tell you what, it was a bit like keeping your line tight.
Yeah, it was. It like pulled himself on, didn't he?
Yeah.
Because as daft as it sounds, Mick, just like with your shallow fishing, it may be that fishing in 15 inches of water doing this might just be that even more efficient. Do you know what I'm saying? It might, there might be another change to be made there. I mean, but granted, you can't get much better than what you're doing now.
No.
But that feeding is definitely the way today.
Yeah,
nicely done.
It certainly is. Well, thanks for the lesson, Joe. And we've
had a good day today, haven't we? We've learnt plenty.
No, there's been tons, and I hope everybody else has learnt quite a bit as well, which I'm sure they have. How can you not learn? And the most important thing is to learn. You've got to catch some fish. And I'd like to say a massive thank you to Paul, the owner we've met earlier from Shelt Hill, and Eric, who invited us here. Because the one thing I will say, you can't learn anything if you're not catching fish.
No.
And the one thing about this place is it's provided us with a great canvas to work from, and what we're going to go and do next on the next episode
of the Old Dog
No Tricks. I talked about fishing shallow.
Yeah, I think
but I think that's a different sort of shallow, maybe a deep place where we can catch shallow, because I think that's an interesting.
Yeah.
Or maybe pellet waggler.
Yeah.
I think
we'll have a little chat and let us know. Actually, what would you like to see us do next? That'll be cool.
Maybe they want to see me pace fishing, but
nah, we've done that, haven't we?
Yeah, that's true.
You're good at that. You've mastered that.
Yeah, we've done. Everybody knows how to pace fish. They've watched your videos, but yeah, tell us what you think. There's obviously tons and tons of fishing to be done on commercials that you can learn from, and the one thing I'm going to say at this point is we probably can't do enough episodes, because the variance, the differences in every time you go fishing are clearly the key. It's not just a textbook, it's not the 10 Commandments. It's the 10 Commandments times 10.
We
10
could
by
come
10.
and do this video again tomorrow and it'd be totally different.
Brilliant. Well, that gives me the confidence that I'm never going to get it right every time, and I'm sure
I'm not.
The viewers at home, no, I get it. So I'm going to get off the box and Joe's going to get on, and we're going to have a great afternoon enjoying ourselves. Thanks for tuning in.
Thanks for watching.